again, 6:41. Alfredo, thank you. You're present. Just before we start, I did email you the Word document. Hopefully you received that. Alfredo?
I do have it, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and take roll. Karen Waters,
Present.
Brian Allen, unmute yourself, please.
Sorry, I couldn't get back to the screen. Present.
Thank you, sir. Alfredo Castillo. Unmute
I am
yourself.
here, sir.
Thank you. Graham Zach.
Here.
Thank you. Sid Gold. I do not see him. Thomas Hartfeld.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Raheem Kazi.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ralph Croy.
Here.
Thank you. Nathan Lee.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Jason Lester.
Present.
Thank you. Robert Moore.
Present.
Thank you. Michael Stewart.
Present. Excuse me, present.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Alvin Waters.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Let me just make sure. I don't have anyone missing here. Okay. All right. And Oscar Jimenez, myself present, so that does give us quorum. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 present. Okay. Sid is the only one that's absent at the moment.
I'm
Okay.
on counting 12, sir. Who am I missing? Ralph Croy. I have that.
Do you
Nathan
have,
Lee, Jason Lester, Roger Moore, Michael Stewart, Oscar Jimenez. Who else did I miss?
Karen?
Karen Waters. I got. Oh, Alvin Waters. There you go.
Ellen. Yep, okay.
I was missing Alvin. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you for confirming. So we've got 13. Okay. Let us. Okay. Okay, let's move on then. Mirko, welcome. I'm going to ask if you would lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. That would be great. Can everyone see my screen?
Okay, place your right hand over your heart. Ready,
Absolutely.
begin. I pledge allegiance to
allegiance
the
to
flag
the flag
of the
of the
United
United States of America and to
and
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you, Mirko. Thank you for being here. All righty. Okay, item B. So we do have a significant number of attendees. We've got 20. The question is, are any of you in this meeting, any of you participants in this meeting considered lobbyists? If so, please identify yourself, raise your hand and state your name. Yeah, I see none. Okay. All right. Item C, comments from our DUN representatives. So Gibson, Mr. Niyamura, you've got the floor.
Hello, I'm arrived, certainly.
Sid, thank you. I'm going to make note, or let's make note, Alfredo. Sid arrived at 6:46. Welcome, Sid.
Thank you.
Hi there, everybody. Good evening. Hi, good
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, once again, my name is Gibson Mbura. I am your neighborhood empowerment advocate. Just want to touch base on some of the changes that have occurred in the past few days. As everyone, I don't know if everyone is aware, but Raquel Beltran resigned as general manager for the Department of Labor Empowerment. And our new general manager is Vanessa Serrano. So the department is in the process of we're going through those changes. We'll be having updates as to what the next steps are and how that looks like for all board members. That is the most important update that we have today. I do know right now Board of Neighborhood Commissioners is happening on the other Zoom as we speak. And so there will be the introduction. And I will, once there's any additional guidance as to what the next steps are and how Vanessa would like to sort of administer the department, we will provide a follow-up. So just wanted to give everybody that update this evening.
Okay. Gibson, so, well, that's some news to start with. But the question I have for you is, Vanessa Serrano, what's her experience with the department in the city of LA?
Vanessa has worked with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment for about 5 years. This is going to the 6th year. She started at the same time as me within the department, and she was the director for operations. And so once the mayor had this opportunity for her, she accepted the role into becoming the general manager for our department.
Okay. Now, is that an appointed position?
At this moment, it's an yes, the general manager position is an appointed position per the mayor, but Vanessa is serving as interim general manager. Once the job notification announcement is made, there will be sort of next steps as to how the process will be permanently fulfilled.
Oh, I see. Okay, so she's interim for the moment. Okay. Thank you, Sid. I think you had your hand up.
No, I took it down. You asked my question, basically. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sid. Any others with questions for Mr. Nyambura? I don't see any hands raised.
I think just one more comment. I just want to say, looking forward to having in-person meetings with everybody next month. As you know, the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners did vote to extend the virtual meetings until the end of this month, but starting April, we will be meeting in person. So I will be making sure that all our neighborhood councils have the ability to meet in their physical meeting locations. If there's any issues, we'll definitely follow up before the board meeting then.
Okay, so that has been pretty much confirmed that April is when they start. Okay, thank you, sir. Alfredo, you had your hand up. You've got the floor. Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just wanted to make a comment that I was quite impressed with Gibson's ability to network and solicit new business at the Shred event.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be a participant, and I think if there's any way we can do more outreach, please let me know. I'm more than glad to join you guys. I hope it's not going to be storming, because everybody knows that there's an upcoming storm. So once the weather is in the clear, let's do some outreach more to get more folks to participate.
Sounds good. Sid, you've got the floor.
Yeah, I have a question about committee meetings. How is that going to work? Do they have to meet in person as well?
Yes, they do. All neighborhood council committee and board meetings must be meeting in person starting April.
So we need to work on that piece of it for us, unless Karen, we're considering using St. Frasia's, but I know that's what we're looking to use for our board meeting.
Correct.
But committee meetings, I think we have to reach out to Robert Frost, I think.
Right. Well, we at this time for committee meetings for the time being, the options would be either Starbucks or Subway, which you just have to post the agenda either at the site or at as well as our regular meeting location. So that's it for now, and we'll kind of see what happens in the next couple of months. But we will, in the meantime, consult Robert Frost. Kennedy is under construction, and has a new principal, so that would not be an alternative at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Alvin, you have the floor.
Yeah, Gibson, I just need to double confirm. So I know that we're required to meet in person, but are we also being required to have the hybrid option as well?
We're not required. It's just an option. The board can take action, have it as an addition. It's not mandated. We're just giving folks, if folks want to include what the board is taking action on is whether they want to include the teleconferencing option or not. You're not required to have the teleconference option. You're just asking folks to take action if they want to have the teleconferencing, yes or no, if they want to do it. If not, yeah, that's what we were asking. You're not required, you're not mandated.
Okay, thank you.
That's good to know. Thank you, Gibson. Karen?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the question about, where do things stand with the security, Gibson? Because the question was open about the clear bag policy as well as a metal detector, which, we already know is about $50, $60, as well as some form of security given the current climate of the country and the safety.
I'll be honest with you, at the moment, we haven't further assessed that we haven't incorporated that scenario just yet in terms of how security looks like in terms of security with metal detectors just yet for neighborhood council meetings. But it's something that was being discussed by Raquel. I think we're just waiting for what the next steps are with our new general manager as to how that will be incorporated for further assessment. And I will bring it up to attention again for a team tomorrow. So if there's anything, I will definitely do a due diligence to provide an update.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I do have 2 hands from the board. However, I'm going to actually give the floor to one of the attendees who's been waiting. So is that Mr. or Mrs. Hales? Unmute yourself, please.
That'll be John Hales.
Welcome.
Thank you. Gibson, I have a question for you. In my outreach, in my particular area, I visit a fair amount of schools. I learned today and confirmed from what I'd heard from other schools that DUN representatives are reaching out to schools, principals at schools to have an in-person meeting with the principal to set up some community outreach. I think it's a great idea, but I wanted to confirm that that's just not my area, that it's across the city.
Unmute yourself. I'm Gibson.
Thank you for catching that. You caught me mid thought process. So I just want to touch base. So each neighborhood council advocate is also taking action and providing outreach for their community. So mine was working with the paper event. The goal is to increase participation within the neighborhood council system for elections. We want to see how more folks can join the NC system. And so we are taking different approaches to that. And so I think if your NEA is taking that approach, that is just sort of an ability for them to increase participation. It's a neighborhood council at NEA is taking different approaches and just making sure that we can increase awareness and engagement. So it's not necessarily a systematic approach for everybody. It's just an assessment based on each NEA's individual assessment. Is that something that you feel that works, or do you feel like it's not effective?
I think it's an outstanding idea because principals often see the effect of changes around them, whether it be with the student. This phone call, he was very well received and said that he's looking forward to the meeting because his outreach at a middle school level is critical. And with this kind of a request from DUN, he knows very little about DUN. Of course, he's learning a lot more right now, but he's exceptionally pleased, as was many of the other principals that I talked to. So I think the idea reaching out to the principals, because oftentimes, we don't go to the schools necessarily for outreach, but it is something I think you guys, that's an excellent idea and you should consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Let's see, I do have some more hands raised. Sid?
Sorry to be so questioning. What about the vaccination policy? What's expected?
At this moment, I don't anticipate there'll be a vaccination policy in regards to how both neighborhood council meetings will be held. The requirement is not something that is being held. I think the way I'm going to say it, it's not going to be in the NC system. That's just the
Okay.
answer.
Can you just clarify? I didn't make that up, Gibson. Could you?
It will not be mandated within the neighborhood council system.
Thank you.
Alvin?
Yeah, I'll make this quick. Gibson, just as an FYI, echoing my vice president's earlier comment. The questions about the security concerns, I mean, this is something that's been asked like for months, so I guess I'm just curious as to why it's just been an ongoing discussion and just not an ultimatum decided on that.
Because it is amount of funding. I think anything that we do within the neighborhood, within the city, it's just sort of a discussion as to funding, as to what are the steps into making sure that that is addressed. We always want to make sure that that discussion goes, because it's not just one department, it's an interdepartmental issue. And it does require sort of a discussion as to how the funding will be assessed and whether there will be support for it. So it's not something that's been dismissed, but it's something that requires multiple steps in order to get a better answer.
I mean, just to kind of hit this home, Gibson, I mean, security was provided for the city council at the city hall, but I mean, that's just something that I just thought that I would point out.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Alvin, I think I'm not dismissing your experience or Miss Waters. I think one thing is just making sure that I am sort of explaining and stating that, hey, it's something that has been brought discussion, but I don't have a good update just as to what the next step looks like in regards to that, and who is going to be paying for the cost of it.
Thank you, Gibson. One more hand, and then we will move on. Glenn? Mr. Bailey? Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. Hi, Gibson. Thanks for your help on the Zoom account. I had a question regarding the community-based organizations. So for Region 2, the Northwest Valley, I know that the North Valley YMCA has received, or at least I was informed, that the department was paying them $5,000 to be doing outreach for candidate recruitment for the 5 neighbor councils in the Northwest Valley, and also for voter recruitment. But I haven't seen any activity to this point, and we're halfway through the candidate filing. My question to you is, is that part of what you do in terms of the neighbor councils that you work with? And also, are you aware of any other similar community-based organizations that have been funded by the department in this region to do similar efforts? Thank you.
I do not, that responsibility is not within my purview at the moment. But I can follow up and get you more information as to what other organizations have, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have the information with me, but I can make sure I follow up with you to make sure that you are informed of what organizations were funded in the efforts, in agreement to conduct outreach conduct election outreach.
Okay, I'm not asking just for myself. I think Granada Hills North and the other neighbor councils in the Northwest Valley be helpful to know that as well. But yes, I would. Thank you.
Not a problem. I'll definitely follow up with this board and then make sure that information is shared widely.
Okay, thank you, Gibson. Thank you. I think we will move on to the next individual. And so, Mirka, thank you for joining us from Councilmember John Lee's office. You have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Mirka Martinez. I am the Deputy District Director for Councilmember John Lee, who represents the Northwest San Fernando Valley. I will start off with some legislative updates. A couple of weeks ago, the council member introduced a motion requesting for details on how the city is enforcing the crime of copper wire theft. And so this is although we're making progress to repair the broken street lights, and as you guys may recall, he requested for a list of street lights on your end so we can send it over to the department. Implementing innovative solutions is something that he is interested in. And so he wanted to submit this motion to get some more information on the enforcement of this crime. He also has funded overtime for LAPD, and there was a extra patrol in Granada Hills. I know that we had heard in the last meeting of previous various burglaries. So he wanted to make a point that Granada Hills was one of the communities that did get extra patrolling. He also has introduced a motion directing BSS, the Bureau of Street Services, and the Urban Forest Division to report back on sustainable solutions and best practices for sidewalk repairs that possibly other cities are implementing. And this would be to preserve city mature street trees while also improving the safety of our sidewalks. And so the city, is known as probably the largest urban forest in the nation. So with, in terms of street trees and sidewalks. And so he wants to make sure that the conflicts between the tree roots and sidewalks in the Los Angeles are not just something that we overlook or say that we can't fix, but he's trying to look at innovative ways. In terms of fun stuff, we were at Rocky Peak's Day of Service on Saturday. We joined VCC at the Chatsworth train depot. We've also have lots of Spring Fest coming up. So I know that this NC will probably meet after the fact. I'm not quite sure, but there are some across our district at Shadow Ranch, at Mason, at Northridge. I'm sure Chatsworth will come up with one too. So we have all this information in our newsletter, and I invite you all to join it. And that's all I have. Actually, I just remembered there's 3 items you guys all want me to update you on.
Thank you,
It just clicked me. I don't have it on my reports, but I know that it's something to update you all. So Jonathan Cotto is the lead for most of the projects. The bulkhead one, which is the one by Norwood, that sidewalk is out for bid, and they have till March 15 to submit, and the department is hoping to award by April 1st. And from that point, we'll get a more clear timeline. So that's in the works. And then the Rinaldi sidewalk, Jonathan Cotto is talking to both Conservation Corps, which is the organization that the previous deputy was talking to, but he's also including the department to see, which way would be faster, more effective, and more cost efficient. So he's exploring it all. And so he's waiting to hear back from a couple individuals. And then the last one, I don't recall. It might be the street vending by the Norwood Plaza. And if so, I think the council member has shared in various meetings that the health department does go out there bi-weekly, I believe, and the council member with his overtime funding also provides for officers to be there during this time. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. It's good to hear. It's good to hear that the funds for that Balboa sidewalk have been secured and it's moving forward. So hopefully once the contract is awarded on the 1st of April, then the work can start as soon as possible. So thank you for that, Mirka. Sid, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I
You've
do.
got the floor.
Just a couple questions. One question there, with the recent storm, there were a lot of trees fell brought down some power lines. I saw one in Northridge that came down. It's a huge tree. I don't know what's the city's responsibility for, or is it, how's the responsibility for that damage taken into effect? And the other question is, I did not have an opportunity to hear the meeting last Wednesday regarding the motion regarding the training for neighborhood councils that was in the committee. This council filed 0990, 21-0990. And was wondering how Councilman Lee voted on that.
For the storms and the tree emergencies, yes, it just depends on you know, where the damage is and what tree it was, right? So all of that, urban forestry is actually working on that first, instead of any requests that come in for tree trimmings or stump removals. So they're still working on emergencies caused by the storm. And in terms of power lines too, I know that our district and throughout the city, actually, there was various residents without power, and that would be DWP is working on that. So it's DWP and urban forestry on the city's end. In terms of the committee, can you repeat the council file? I'll have to check in.
I think it was 21-0990. It has to do with regulations for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, especially has to do with training for the board of directors, and just wondering how the councilman that was in his committee before, now he's on this committee now is as a member rather than the chairperson of the committee.
I'll check in with our legislative staff and I will update you in this meeting if I hear back, or if not, I can send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Karen, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, America. Just one question for you or for Councilmember Lee. The fact that the city council is considering, I'm not sure if it's clearly a motion, or they are considering spending $39 million for land that cannot be developed in Bel Air, but yet they cannot provide security for us, that doesn't work. So if you could please ask him to, where does he stand on that? Where are things with that? Because that math isn't mathing and does not make sense. And that's my question.
Okay, I'll check in with him on where he stands on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any other hands. Okay. Marka, thank you. Thank you for those updates. Okay, let's see here. I see Mr. Fisk.
I'm here.
Would you like to give us any updates?
Yes, from the
Please.
police department, our senior lead officer is in training tonight for some reason. They do constantly training, so they're off and on different kinds of training. As for the crime report, burglaries and theft, burglaries from residents and commercial areas are still a problem, though the trend is down. As an example, in January, the 32 in our area, not just the Devonshire, just in our north area, 32 burglaries, and in February, there's 18. The homes are being hit usually in the evening, and they're done by professional criminals even from out of the country. Yeah.
Wow.
And Mirka mentioned about Councilmember Lee providing extra funds. There was a task force last Friday evening in the north part of Granada Hills, and from the freeway over to Tampa above Rinaldi. Normally might be one car in the area, if any. This task force, there were 7 officers, 4 black and whites, and 2 volunteer organizations that were patrolling with 8 additional cars, and that would happen between 5 and 9:30. And one of the ironic things happened. There was actually a call for some suspicious activity in the area while we were up there. And the police, there were two people there looked like they were climbing in the neighbor's yard. And the police were in the area and they got to the house in 1 minute because they were there. The people ran off, they got in the car, and we weren't able to apprehend the car. And again, these kind of task forces are made possible because John Lee has been continually adding money. These task forces require overtime for the officers. They're not their normal duties. The police department as a whole is down over 900 officers, and you will continue to see a decline in the overall numbers. The police academy, which used to have in years gone by 50 to 100 recruits, and this last passed, there was only 24, and they don't all make it through probation, and there'd probably be 18 added on after probation. As for the police, just as an example of how John Lee is focused on public safety, in the city council, there was a motion to fund the gun buyback program, which, people bring their guns, no questions asked, and they get some kind of funding or credit or something. Most of these types of guns, the criminals go in and steal guns. And so this would have taken a lot of guns off the street. The two of the newest council members voted against it because LAPD was involved. And by the way, the house that in the task force on Friday night, the person was a retired, I think it was Santa Monica Police Department, and he did have guns in the house. So that prevented some more criminals from getting guns. Other news, the neighborhood prosecutor program, we have a neighborhood prosecutor from the city attorney's office stationed at every police station. That is going to be, there's going to be some changes. We don't know exactly what they will be, but that might be detrimental to the close relationship the prosecutor has with solving crimes, working directly with the officers in the office. We also urge you to come to the neighborhood watch program. The next one with Slow Parker is next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock at St. Euphrasia's Church. What else can I say here? The LAPD is continuing their retailer business meetings. The next one is on March 28th, and that's still being held via Zoom. LAPD is going to have an open house at Devonshire on April 22nd, which also includes a pancake breakfast fundraiser. And I think maybe the helicopters might be there and get to see the police station. And in other news, I'd like to just let you know that UCC is hosting the two supervisors, Horvath and Barger, for State of the County Luncheon, which will be held on the 29th of March. And if there's any questions, I see Sid has a question. I hope I can answer. You always give me tough ones.
No, I hope you can answer, or maybe you won't want to answer. But in lieu of the shortage.
If you're going to set on a used Nissan Pathfinder for your next SUV, do your
Alfredo,
research.
Who has?
Alfredo, you're there. Thank you.
There we go.
So in view of the lack of manpower in the LAPD, maybe you can't answer. Is there any sort of sentiment on the remarks made by the mayor about her recruiting policies and guidelines for new hires in the police department?
Well, yeah, I did see something about the new guidelines, but on the other part to that issue is that the Police Protective League, the union, and a lot of the police officers agree with some of the diversion of the calls that the police go on, which will be handled by maybe the mental health department or someone else. But they are in favor of some of those. Of course, all the details have to be worked out, which calls they will not be taking directly. So I can't answer the thing about the mayor's recruitment. I don't have a good answer for that. I don't really know.
You haven't heard anything, no sentiment. I would imagine there would be comments. Okay.
Alfredo?
Yeah, I had a question for you. Was the we had less burglaries in February. Was that due to the short month or the rainy days?
Well, I guess we had, Devonshire has been going after it as best they can. And historically, sometimes the rain has an issue with burglaries. I don't know the answer, but a short month is a kind of a good answer, 28 days.
Thank you.
You're
Good question, Alfredo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. And we have actually a fire chief on the call. Would you like to give us an update on anything? Let's see here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
My name's Chief Brian Dameron over here in Battalion 15. Not a whole lot to update you on. The hiring issue is a struggle for the fire department as well. Seems like everybody's having a hard time hiring right now. That's a nationwide issue that's going on, but we're doing our best. Same type of thing as the personnel department's having a hard time processing enough qualified members to make full drill towers. So it's a struggle for us as well. So as far as anything else going on, we made it through all the rainstorms. We had just an idea. We had on the major day of the rainstorm, our department ran almost 3,000 calls. I think it was 2,900 calls. So we have 103 fire stations. So you can imagine that's almost 30 runs per station. So that was 24 hours of no sleep for anybody. So long days. As far as anything else going on, not a whole lot right now. We're still looking at what direction the mayor's going to provide for the fire chief. I believe they meet this Friday to have a discussion, and we'll know more from there. But just getting online and seeing if there's anything you guys got any questions on.
Well, thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. And thank you for all your hard work, especially with this weather. I know that there's been a lot of damage across the city. So thank you, and thank all of the team for working so hard to get us back, to where we need to be. Alvin, you've got the floor.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chief, for coming on the call. I just had a curious question if the fire department is still doing that I guess training for the youth at the high school level, because I had a friend of mine that actually took advantage of that program, which I think was one avenue to recruit.
So we do have a cadet program that's still going on, and it's kind of been revamped and made a little bit better. So we have that program, which is the high school students essentially, and then we also have a day for they call it for female recruits, and it'll be a drill tower 40 coming up in the next couple of months. I'm not sure the date of that yet, but it'll allow us to target certain people so that we can get our numbers up.
Very nice.
That's it.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. Much appreciated. Always welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see any other government representatives on the call. So with that, we will then move on to item E. So item E, this is a public comment on item, 2 minutes. So if you're on the call, to raise your hand, I believe it's *9. To unmute yourself is *6, *6, *9. Okay, I see one hand up. Let's see. Okay, Glenn, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Glenn Bailey. First of all, I want to thank a number of your board members who take leadership roles in, with VANC, with LANC, with budget advocates, etc. So it's great, your neighbor council is out there in leadership roles. That's super. I did want to let everyone know that this Thursday, the Valley Alliance and Neighborhood Councils is celebrating its 20th birthday, but it's virtual. And we're having that recognized by County Supervisor Janice Hahn, who was one of the members of the the Charter Reform Commission, and just to sort of give maybe a little historical background. And then we're also having Jill Banks-Barad, who's the founder and chair of VANC, join us and say hello to everyone. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. And then next month we have the Ethics Commission chair. And that's been in the news lately because there's an effort to reform the municipal lobbying ordinance. So that's been referred back to the ad hoc committee on city governance reform, and it's going to be coming up on March 20th. So it may still be in the news at that point in time. And I did want to, I'm actually on the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners meeting right now. I'm hoping when you get to your item on regarding the virtual versus in-person meetings to bring up about Senate Bill 411, but I'll do it now just to make sure it's on your radar screen. I think Oscar would have had an email from us about that. And then just note on that item on your agenda K1 that it's AB 2449, not SB. Thank you.
AB 2441. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Okay. See any others? I don't see any others. Any other hands raised? Okay. All right, then let's move on to item F, President. I have no comments at the moment, other than just remember right now, I think the candidate filing system is still open. So if you've not done so, make sure to, go and register for the neighborhood council. All right. Karen, when's the date, the end for that? I think it's mid-March. March 28th. Okay.
But please don't wait till the last minute.
Okay. All right then. Let's move on to item G, A as an apple, discussion motion to approve the February 7th, 2023 board meeting minutes. I did email those out, I believe, this morning. And hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at them. If not, I can certainly, let's see, share them on the screen. See here. Okay, so I do have them on the screen. Now I will zoom that. I'm going to scroll through and let me know if anybody sees anything here that needs addressing. I don't see anything.
Is my behavior conducive of? I'm not here. Did we just jump through discussion and motion for corrective and cure action regarding behavior?
Yes, ignore that one. It's I did because it's actually there's another item on there. I failed to remove that one when I put the agenda together.
That other item is which one?
That's coming up. It'll be G F as in Frank.
Okay, repetitive. Okay, got it. And JF, what you said? F?
G F.
F. Okay, GF. Thank you, sir.
F as in Frank. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like G1 or G2 or G3?
Yes, Fernando. I caught that too after the fact.
Sorry. I'm sorry, my ESL is kicking in. I'm sorry. My bad.
For your housekeeping note.
My ESL here, you know how that goes.
But no,
Sorry.
I caught that too. I'm like, oh gosh, should have been 1, 2, and 3, but hey, just put G lowercase f as in Frank. How's that?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so going back to the meeting minutes, anything there? Anyone have any questions on?
Oscar, motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second that.
that was Robert.
Yes.
Okay, Robert seconded. Okay. Now discussion is closed on this item. Okay, so let's take a vote. Any opposed to the meeting minutes? State your name, please. I hear none. Any abstentions? State your name, please.
Thomas Hartfield, abstain.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Any others? Okay, I hear none. So yes is the balance. So that would mean, because we now have 14, Fernando.
I don't know who the heck Fernando is, but I
Alfredo,
guess with
sorry.
Fernando, we have 15 maybe.
Alfredo, sorry.
Just saying, just saying.
Oh, my apologies, Alfredo. You look like a Fernando from my AYSO board, so I apologize.
Man, good thing I don't have
All right,
my
Alfredo.
video on. Damn.
Oh, got it. Okay, so let's see, we had 14 with 1 abstention. That means 13 yeses. Okay.
Thomas would abstain, right?
Yes, Thomas Hartfeld.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, let's move on to item G, lowercase b as in boy. Motion to approve the corrected NPG for 3,500 for the 2022 Granada Hills Street Fair, which was originally approved by the board on 9/6/2022. So there was a request by the city clerk to have it corrected, which was sent out to everyone as well. What, Alfredo, what now?
No, just 'cause I said that like 2 meetings ago that we should just correct it, but okay.
Well, we need
all the embarrassment that we received, but was it necessary?
Well, we needed to get it corrected by the foundation, so we couldn't correct it ourselves. But anyway, so here it is. Everyone's had it. I think I sent it out also this morning. Brian, you have your hand up, so let's see here. Go for it. So you've got the floor.
Yeah, I talked to Marielle, and we agreed that we just need to acknowledge that we have a correct NPG, and then I can resubmit this, and it according to her, it will be paid. We discussed the idea of a BAC. We do not need an additional BAC. We simply need this NPG to be accurate, and it should go through quickly. So that's my conversation with Marielle.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. I appreciate that update. Any further comments? I don't see any.
Thank you, Alvin, for reviewing with Ms. Manassian.
I don't see any other hands. Okay.
Oh, is everybody eligible to vote on this one? I know it's a money item, but I know it's a correction, but I think it's still a money item, right?
It's
Right.
not a money item because it's just a recognition that the NPG is correct.
Because technically we already voted on the amount. It was just,
We can't issue, excuse me, but we can't issue another BAC because the BAC would be issued subsequent to the event, and that would not fill the file properly.
but that is a great question, Alfredo. Thank you. Okay, so how do we move forward? So this is just to vote on the corrected MPG.
Correct. And Oscar, we need to, we should issue a letter by you and me that as the signing officers on these NPGs, that we have as a board agreed that this is an accurate NPG.
Okay, sounds good. But we'll go ahead and just we'll go ahead and take the vote.
A motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and take a vote. Any opposed to this, please state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, please state your name. I hear none. This motion passes with 14 votes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Item G.
Excuse me, if this is a money matter, I am not.
Ralph, we just had that discussion. So for the record, just to be on the safe side, then I will go ahead and we'll say that this passed with 13 votes and 1 ineligible.
Yes, I just want to be correct.
Okay, let's do that. Fernando, let's revise the count. So 1 ineligible and 13 yeses.
If we get Fernando involved, that'd be 15 though.
What, Alfredo? Did I say Fernando again? Did I keep saying Fernando? I'm telling you.
So
Sorry,
I don't know,
Alfredo.
man. I think I'm gonna talk to somebody and let him know about this Fernando guy. I think he might want to hear about this Fernando guy.
Don't be talking to my husband.
He daydreams about Fernando. Let me tell you.
I'm so sorry, Alfredo. Okay. Okie dokes. Oh Lord, am I turning red? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on to item GC, as in cat. Motion to approve fee increase in the webmaster services from $150 to $200 per month, because there's additional services. This will allow all Granada Hills and local community events to be posted on the GHNNC website and social media. So right now, when we have stuff that's coming from other organizations that are within our close proximity adjacent to the north, you know, they don't get posted because there's one's too much, and then the fee that we pay our webmaster right now doesn't cover for those additional actions. So this will take care of that. Any questions? Oh, Brian, you got the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to support this issue because Aaron has been providing us, and I realize his parents live here in Granada Hills North, but Aaron has been providing us with excessively good support over the years, and he has charged us so little. We're similar to a few other NCs that he handles, but he does a great job without actually charging us the fee that many of the people pay. There are some NCs that pay $300-400 a month for the same services that Aaron provides, and he has been charging us $150 for a long time. So I am very happy to support him on this.
Thank you, Brian. Karen?
I just wanted to echo that. Aaron is wonderful, and he makes our website look fantastic. And when he mentioned this, you know, I agreed to send it forth for the agenda. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Any others? I do not see any other hands.
Yes, excuse me. Sorry, Oscar. I also want to state that I will bring to the board next month a revision on the budget, because this will require additional fees on that line item. So I'll bring that to the board next month.
Good point. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, Brian.
Can you stop sharing, sir, please? I think we're beyond that item that you're sharing.
You don't want me to share this anymore, Alfredo?
No, it's distracting. Fernando doesn't agree with that sharing too much.
Okay, all righty. So now I don't see any other hands raised. Okay. So anybody want to
Oscar?
Yes, sir.
This should require a roll call. So
yes, sir.
I will do that if we're ready.
I believe so. Let's move on. Thank you, Brian.
Okay,
Did anybody motion for approval?
Yes, you did, Alfredo. Thank you. Who's going to
Not this
second
one.
that?
I'll second it.
glad to see it.
Okay.
All right, I am a yes. Karen,
Yes,
Sid,
Yes,
Oscar,
Yes.
Rahim. Rahim.
Where is
Rahim,
he? Did he fall off?
is he here?
Did he fall off the call? I don't see him. So we
I
need to
don't see
make,
him, so I'll make that
need to
absent.
make note of that. When did he?
I don't-
When was he gone?
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
curious.
don't know.
Didn't see him leave. Okay,
No.
Alfredo,
Yes, sir.
that's a yes?
Sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
We're gonna call Ralph as ineligible. And Jason,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Michael, are you eligible to vote?
I am, yes, I took the courses
Okay,
and passed
thank
them
you.
all.
And your vote is yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Michael, Karen put you up to all that, didn't she? Good job, Karen.
That's 12 yeses,
I'm so
one
proud.
absent, and one ineligible.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael, for being on top of that.
Thank
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, excellent. So the next thing here, I guess, Gibson, is he on the call, Mr. Niambura? Just the question on this one for me would be, is there an agreement with the city that we need to update? And if so, how do we go about doing that?
Give me 1 second. Which motion again? If not,
The item to increase the webmaster fee from 150 to 200, we just approved that.
as far as
If there is,
there shouldn't be an issue
okay,
because like if it was listed to increase it, we can only lower amounts as an amendment.
okay.
Point of order, didn't we already approve this?
No, it wasn't. We
Okay.
did approve it. I just want to make sure that if there's an actual document.
Fernando, let's go to the next one, please. Fernando, let's go to the next one.
Who's Fernando?
Gotcha.
All right.
No, there shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, no, as far as the board is taking that, right, it was already stated, so the board has agreed it's 150, correct?
We approved to increase it to 200, yes.
Yeah, it's fine. You listed it correctly. There's not a
Okay.
problem there.
Okay.
The only time an amendment comes in is when it's not listed and you want to take it lower. Anything higher than, let's say, if you want to do 250, the board cannot do that right now. It would have to postpone the motion to the next month's board meeting.
Got it. Okay. All right, then let's move on to the next one, Alfredo.
Yeah.
So item GD, motion to appoint Caitlin Chong as the second chair of the GHNNC Youth Committee. Jason Lester is first chair. So welcome, Caitlin.
Hello, Caitlin.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining this group. It's a great group, and we all look forward to working with you. So is there anything that you'd like to tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm a junior in high school. I go to Kennedy High School, which is just right here. And I'm also excited and a little bit nervous, but mostly excited.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, hopefully the nervousness will kind of dwindle as you see how fun this group is, and that we're here certainly to support you. So whatever it is that we can do to make, your role with this group easier, that's what we're all here for. Okay.
Thank you.
Of course.
I'd like to add that Jason and I interviewed Caitlin, and I mean, very impressive interview. I mean, she's going to do very well.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Just a point of order advice for you, Caitlin. Make sure that they don't change your name around here. Okay?
Ay, Alfredo. Okay, so Alvin, you've got the floor.
Yeah, just want to welcome a fellow Kennedy Cougar. I'm actually an alumni from there, class of 2003.
Wow, I did hear about that from Kieran. That's crazy. Nice to meet you.
My goodness.
Brian, you have the floor.
I'm a little confused. Is this an appointment to a committee or is this an appointment to the board as well? And if it's not an appointment to the board, why are we not asking her to join the board?
It is an appointment to the board, Brian.
Okay, that's not what it says. That's why I asked the question.
Oh, so do we need to change appointments?
Well, we can
Wait,
motion
no,
to
it's
amend.
not it's not an appointment to the board. The board would be that would be the student rep, wasn't it?
Well, we have the youth committee. Jason is the chair. That was back in 2020, Alfredo.
Ugh,
But she is
it's
the
been a little
student
bit.
representative,
Okay.
or will be, excuse me.
Okay. Great.
Then let me make a motion to appoint her as the youth committee seat on the board.
Second.
Excellent. Good catch, Brian. Thank you.
Are we changing the motion then?
It's an
But we
amendment.
have a
yes.
chair. Jason's the chair and Caitlin
Yes.
will also be second chair. So there will always be dual chair.
Okay.
Caitlin already got a promotion.
Yeah, just like that. And no
Well,
name
so-
changes. That's good.
But the
Yes.
clarification here is just to make sure, to Brian's point, which makes sense,
Yes,
is that we're voting to add her to the board. To be
Yes.
to be a chair of a committee
correct,
doesn't necessarily require to be on the board, right?
correct.
Correct.
So that's why it's good that we're clarifying. Thank you, Brian, for that. So then we're going to vote on amending the motion, then motion to appoint Caitlin Chung as the second chair of the GHNC Youth Committee on the board. And Jason Lester is the first chair.
You're actually trying to make two appointments at the same moment. I don't personally have an issue with that, but that we need to make that clear. That's all.
So, okay, so do we want to make two motions? Leave the original one and add one that says appoint Caitlin Chung to the board of GHNNC.
Yes,
Let's do that. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we'll leave GD as is, and we will add a motion. We'll call it GD1.
Oh my goodness.
How's that? See, I'm using
That was good.
I'm using numericals, Alfredo. See?
Yeah, that was impressive. I'll
right.
tell you that much.
So GD1 will be motion to appoint.
Point of order, Oscar.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, I'm a stickler for doing it properly, and we cannot make a new motion, a new agenda item to make a motion. We can, however, amend this motion to read that we are appointing her to both the board and to a second chair position on the youth committee.
Okay. All right. So then let's
That will work.
see, Alfredo. I tried the numerics, but Brian had to root it for me.
Overruled, huh? Overruled.
But that's true. That's a good point, Brian. We can't add something to the
The
agenda.
man with the most hair shut you down. I'm telling you.
Motion to.
Fernando wouldn't stand for that.
Thank you for your patience, Caitlin. By
He
the
would
way.
not.
Yeah, Caitlin. She just went right in.
Okay. Motion to appoint.
The original motion was fine to appoint her to the way that Brian originally said it was fine.
Okay, so did you write it down?
Brian motions that the amendment to appoint her to the
board
as a youth representative.
Correct. And to a position of second chair on the youth committee.
Well, it's already on there, so you're just adding that to it.
No, I'm just
Right.
restating the whole
Okay,
motion.
right. So we need to vote on that motion that we're also adding her as a board as a youth representative, right?
Well, you have to vote on the amendment and then on the motion.
I motion to approve the amendment.
So you second. amendment.
Seconding the amendment.
I
Okay.
second the amendment. There you go.
Okay, so let's vote on the amendment. Or vote to make the amendment, all right? So that's the first part. Okay, so any opposed to the amendment, state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. So this motion passes with 13, keeping in mind that Rahim Kazi is no longer on the call.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're gonna vote on the actual motion.
Yes, sir.
All right. So any opposed, state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. Okay, so that passes again with 13. Keeping in mind Rahim Kazi is absent.
Sorry, who motioned the original amendment? The original motion?
The original motion? I don't know. Who did that?
No one motioned it.
Well, I seconded, and I think Robert seconded the first one. And I seconded the second.
No one had, Brian motioned the amendment and no one else had done it. So who do I write down as the original culprit?
I think Robert seconded.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Karen in seconds. Karen and Robert?
Yes.
Sounds great.
Well, since this came from executive committee, they didn't need seconds.
Okay.
Then none of these need seconds because it's all from executive.
No.
Oh, my bad. This is A, B, C through A through F. Came all from executive committee. Okay. So do I write Karen down as the motion to approve?
Second.
Explain.
Oh, yes, thank you.
No, I believe you just have to try and get in and meet them again.
Okay. All right. And then
It's almost,
Rob,
what's that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
and then Robert seconds.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We need to teach you shorthand, Alfredo.
You know, I need to be that incredible T-Rex. Yes, I know. Shorthand.
Caitlin's probably going, what's shorthand?
I know, right?
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Oh my
officially, Caitlin, welcome to the Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council.
So yes, Caitlin, welcome. Congratulations. You are now part of this wacky group.
Wonderful.
Oscar, for what it's worth, you have a
346,
hand
please mute
on
yourself.
attendees.
Wonderful.
I'm just trying to figure out who's.
Caller with ending in 346, please mute your call.
So I think, is that Joni?
I don't know.
Just 346. You have your hand up. Sorry, I'm just getting to you.
I think she was trying to mute her phone.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to push that. I beg your pardon.
Okay, let's lower your hand and then, okay, all right. We're good. Okay, so again, Caitlin, welcome. And look, it's almost 8 o'clock. I mean, let us know when it's past your bedtime. We don't want to keep you up too late. I'm just kidding.
That's my bedtime.
Welcome, Jason.
Hey, I'm getting OT here, so don't worry about it. Getting overtime.
I don't get overtime.
Lord have mercy. Okay, let's go on to let's move on to item G and E as in Edward. Discussion and motion to approve Public Records Act request for Sunshine Canyon Amenities Fund expenditures and bookkeeping from January 1st to 11 to the present. This was an item that was put here by the executive committee. Now on this one, it was prompted. I think Karen, you're the one that started this one, right? But
right, I did. Unfortunately, Michael and I both have to recuse ourselves from this one.
So
He's the general manager.
That is correct. Yes.
How many people do we have present?
So we have, with 2 recusals,
we'll have 11.
We'll have 11 because.
Thank you.
Wait, who's back on the call? Did Rahim get back? No. Okay, so we'll have 12, 13, 11, yes, correct. Because now we have Caitlin. So with Caitlin, we should actually have 14 present.
Right, well, but Caitlin can't vote on financial matters though. So I don't know if it's requesting
Yeah,
the
that's
act.
true. That's true. Okay.
We
All
still
right,
got quorum, but
This
Right.
isn't,
So,
this is not a financial matter.
right. Oh, that
This
too.
is- This is just to consider asking,
Just ask for
The
records.
records, the
asking for
records, so we're
records
okay.
for
So
Sunshine
Caitlin's okay.
Canyon. So this is something that has been on this board's mind, I can say, for quite a while. I mean, just when I started the board, the representative for Councilmember Donnelly's office was Jesse. Back then, we asked for information about expenditures from this fund. Recently, I've had conversations with Miss Lee Hannah from John's office. You know, and part of the conversation in that was a lack of communication. So with that, working with her to try and get more information. Now, a lot of these things, expenditures, just keep in mind, these expenditures do need to go before the council for approval.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Who's calling in? And
I am Ralph.
okay,
I have one
you can't do both, Ralph.
I have one laptop that's running out of power.
Okay, there we go. That takes care of that. Okay, so anyway, so there's the history with that. And we've not been getting anything. So this, I guess, is to try and formalize that. And again, like I was saying, I've had conversations with Hannah Lee recently. Anything that goes through or spent from that fund does go through council. City council has to vote on it. And those documents are available for public viewing. So with that, one of the things I did ask Hannah is that in situations like that, you know, seeing those documents or at least notifying us and letting us know that something had gone through city council would have been good, would have helped us as far as getting that information. So anyway, with that said, I'm opening it up for any discussion or any questions that anyone may have. Alvin, you've got the floor.
No, I mean, I guess I just have to echo this concern because I mean, obviously, this is something that's been going on since before my time on the board. So, I mean, I joined the board in 2018, and the fact that this continues to be an ongoing issue, it brings a great deal of concern to me for I guess just maintaining trust between us and the stakeholders. And it's, I mean, with the current climate that we're in, you know, with a lot of people losing faith in government now, I mean, we definitely don't need to add to this, though. I definitely think this is warranted. That being said.
Okay, thank you, Alvin. Sid, you've got the floor.
Thank you. The question, I agree with the concept. Are they under the Public Records Act? Are they a public committee? That's
Those funds, as far as I understand, would be part of public because they are earmarked for a certain area, right? I mean, I believe the radius is 5 miles from the landfill.
I think it's a good idea. I just don't know if they're a public, but if they are, it's a great idea.
Brian?
All funds distributed by a city entity are under the Public Records Act. These funds are administered by CD 12 They are provided by the landfill and they are overseen by the city council. So yes, they are subject to Public Records Act.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I see no more hands raised. So with that, then let's move on and take a vote on this.
Karen recused herself, and who else recused?
Michael?
Michael?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so therefore.
How do you spell recuse, sir?
RECUSE.
Okay.
Oh, well, you know what? It's spelled Fernando. I completely misspelled it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And an ED at the end of that.
With
Yes.
that. Okay, so let's take a vote. Those opposed, state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. Okay, so this item passes. Okay, let's get Karen back.
So is that 12 passes? So is that 12 pass? No, that's 11, right?
That would be 11, yes.
Because Ralph is still out of it, right? Ineligible?
No, Ralph is eligible.
Ralph is back? Okay. So then we have,
It's not
he's
really.
back too.
Well, he's on screen.
Who's back?
Ralph.
Oh, yes. Is he talking to us? He needs to unmute himself.
I missed that.
I'm calling Karen back, sorry.
Did Karen drop off?
Well, no, she left, but she should be coming back.
We're missing Kazi. Is he just not in? He's absent?
He left, yeah. Where have you been? I mean, Alfredo?
No, but I thought he was, because we said he was back. I thought Ralph was
No.
out.
I thought he was, unless he's in attendees. Let me see, but
I just took over for Fernando, sir, so I'm sorry.
I don't see him. Oh, Ralph is on the attendees as well. Ralph, did you call him as well? That's why you're echoing.
That's why
But I'm in the process of transitioning because my.
Why don't you mute your phone? Well, that's the whole point, right? You want the phone for, okay, anyway, where's Karen? So we can move on. Let's move on. She's not answering the phone or the texts. Ellen, I'm not sure if you can. Is she anywhere near you?
Oscar, you need to let her into the meeting because I think she's in the room.
Okay, that's new to me. What room is she in?
No, so you need to add her. I
She's
think you
nowhere to
need
be added.
He's in attendees.
Oh, there she is. Okay. How did she end up over there? There she goes. All right, Karen.
I'm back.
Okay, sorry. I was like, where is she? Okay, so let's move on then to item G. F as in Frank. Oh, Fernando. Yeah. Okay. So discussion and proposed motion to cure and correct code of conduct violations by Brian Allen at Neighborhood Council Board and Committee meetings outside of GHNNC. The GHNNC board received numerous complaints during public comment at the February 7, 2023 meeting. We also got an email. So we just want to address this and bring it to everyone's attention. I mean, I think some of you were on that email. I did not get that email originally for some reason, although it was. Okay, I'm hearing background noise. So anyway, so I did not respond originally to that, or I should say I have not. I believe Karen did. So anyway, all right, with that, I'm going to open it for discussion. Brian, you've got the floor.
Okay, as this relates to me, the first thing I want to ask is, how did this get on the agenda when it was not discussed at the executive committee? Because the executive committee is the meeting in which we are supposed to approve the agenda. So I don't understand how it got there without that. Now, I'm not complaining about it being on there, but what I am concerned with is everyone's entitled to their opinion of how they see people. But the fact is that the comments that were made as personal opinion. There was no facts of any kind presented. There was an accusation of code of conduct. I'm not sure how this entity is responsible for a private person's comments at some other venue, but I understand that you're bringing it up. One of the individuals that commented at that meeting that we're talking about was a stakeholder, a NC stakeholder for Granada Hills South, has not attended a North Hills West meeting in probably 2 or 3 years. Like I go to all of them and he has not been there. And so I'm not sure how his comments could be considered in any way, shape or form since he has no firsthand knowledge. But regardless of all that, there was no evidence presented, only accusations. And they were mean. One of them, Oscar, had to shut down because of his comments. And I think we as a council should have done some research to find out if any of these comments were founded in any facts whatsoever. And none was done. On top of all that, I wasn't even questioned on this situation before this was agendized. So I know you're going to get a lot of vitriol from the people that are here from North Hills West. And I see a number of them there, but I find the whole process to be improper. But I'm willing to go forward with it because I have done nothing wrong and my conduct is exemplary. The fact is, when I make comments to an NC, my facts are accurate. And my comment that they're upset about is my comment about their recording their meetings. They refuse to record their meeting. And because of that, they're angry at me when I go there and I say, I am recording them. Now, why did I say I am recording them? Well, I can tell you.
Actually, you know what, Oscar, can I ask a question? Because since I'm sorry
to allow me to, can you allow me to finish?
But if it's regarding yourself,
can you allow me to finish?
Point of order. Point of order.
Clarification about that.
Point of order.
Thomas, point of order.
Oh, I'm sorry. Point of order. Can I ask for clarification if it's about Brian? is he allowed to, actually speak on behalf when it's about him? So I just want point of order, and then I just wanted to.
Oscar, this
clarify
is
that. Sorry to
proper. This
interrupt.
is totally improper for him to interrupt the conversation.
Okay, continue, Brian.
Some
Okay.
people have raised their hands.
The reason that I made the statements that I did is because, and the statement that I made was, I am recording this meeting. All right. And the reason is section 54953.5 of the Brown Act of 2000, postings of 2003 states that any person attending an open and public meeting of a legislative body, which NCs are considered, of a local agency shall have the right to record and the proceedings with an audio or videotape recorder or a still or motion picture camera. The only exception to that is if you are disruptive. There is no disruption that anyone can identify. I didn't even speak the rest of those 2 meetings in which I was doing that. So I find this whole thing to be very unfortunate. I know they're also upset at the fact that I have stated publicly that in their meeting, that their MER was incorrect. That has been agreed. That has been shown. I offered to assist. They did not ask for my assistance. Glenn Bailey did assist them. Glenn Bailey did get them to put a proper MER subsequently up online. So I find this whole proceeding to be appalling, and I am insulted. And I am insulted more by the fact that some of our members have bought into this without even looking for facts. So thank you very much.
May I make a comment, please?
Wait, Ralph, wait. So with that said, Brian, okay, Gibson, I've got you on the call. I'm going to put you on the spot, sir.
Yeah, I was listening. All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. So the question I have for you,
Yes, Mr. President.
Is this item, and I'm gonna go back to Brian's point. So this was not something that was on the executive committee agenda originally. So with that, do I then postpone this for another meeting?
May I make a point of order, please? Hello?
Yes, Ralph, hold on.
Ralph, did you have something to say?
Yes, I do. Something similar to this happened to me many years ago at a meeting of the.
Point.
My point is this, I have a letter from the, what was it? Senior deputy, et cetera, in regards to taking pictures, et cetera, at a public meeting at the Sunshine Canyon event. And the people complained about it, and I pursued it. And I got a letter, and
Okay, Ralph, this is point of order. We're talking about something.
That's not a point of order.
it is allowed by the Brown Act to take pictures and recording.
It's not a point of order.
Hey, folks, give me just one person at a time. We don't have to talk over each other.
This has already been declared by the legal system.
Okay, thanks. There's not a problem with the way you're mentioning to record a public meeting. That's not the issue. I think the issue at hand is when you take a look at this, it's a conversation as to what are the code of conduct violations. I mean, what is the code of conduct for the board and how we also interact with other neighborhood councils is a question, right? There isn't a policy so that dictates the motion after sort of doing an assessment. It's not necessarily, there isn't a clear policy that says this motion can't be discussed. I think it's just a discussion of how we are respectful of each other's boundaries as board members. I think is an important discussion in this matter. So I think this is not a motion to censure a board member. It doesn't state that it's a motion to censure a board member, but it is a question as to how are we conducting one another when is there room for discussion and empathy whenever board members say they don't feel comfortable? I think there's also we can bring that into focus.
Point of order. I'm sorry, Gibson, but the question that was asked to you was, should we address this now or should we postpone it based on the fact that it was not addressed at the executive committee, which set the agenda? That's the question that was asked.
Okay, I'm gonna
It can be
have
postponed.
to add a point of order here right now. We have had for years, we have items that don't make it to the executive committee agenda that end up all the time. I mean, from different committee meetings and for various other items that may come after we have had our executive committee meeting. That's not relevant here because it's been happening since I arrived on the council.
That's a good point. That's true.
It is, except for one thing. She's talking about issues that came up afterwards. This came up before.
The what?
This issue came up before the executive meeting. It was known before the executive committee meeting, not after.
The email came after, did it not?
No,
we
but
well, we received complaints. Let's just, I'm gonna wait my turn.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let Sid take the floor.
Thank you. I don't understand why we're discussing this. If the only reason I could see we could discuss this is that Brian went there and representing himself as from Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council. You know, these are public meetings. He's free to speak. I don't see why we're even taking up a code of conduct issue, something that occurred not in our purview. We didn't see anything, and he wasn't representing himself as a member. He's as a private citizen. And the only thing we have in our bylaws is we can't speak on behalf of Granada Hills North outside unless we have permission from the board to do so. So I just don't see why we're even discussing it. Personally, thank you.
That's a good point. That is correct. As long as you're speaking on behalf of yourself as a constituent, right? But if you so much as mention something that pertains or puts you in, how should I put it? In alignment with the board, then you've crossed that line. Now you may appear as though you're responding on behalf of the board. Right? So that's what we need to clarify here. Was any of that done? And that's all. This is not about a censure. This is just to make sure that we're all on the same page to what you just said, Sid. And that is, if you're going to go and present somewhere outside of this into another neighborhood council, fine, you can do it as an individual, but be careful not to bring into that discussion something that relates to your role for your neighborhood council. Because when you do that, you may have crossed that line, right? And that's what we just want to make sure that we're on the same page when it comes to that.
To respond to that, Oscar, at no point was there ever any question of that being presented. That was not asked of me. That was not asked of anyone. And that was not presented by anyone. No one has said that I acted on behalf of GHNNC. What was said was that I was giving advice to an NC outside my council's district. And why am I interfering with their council? Well, interfering is an interesting question because the only thing that was there was giving advice. And we have plenty of witnesses to attest that I have never been even so much as mean to them, other than making a strong comment about what the rules are that they should be abiding by the NC standards. And that's it.
Okay. Let's see. Thomas, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Oscar. Yeah, I apologize to Brian. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to do the point of order. I forgot kind of how that we're supposed to say that.
Apology accepted.
So, great, thank you. So that was my first question. So I guess that you did answer the question that even though it's regarding him, he does have the ability to speak. So thanks for clarifying that. My comment that I do have is, Brian has been rude before, and he's very abrupt, especially in our meetings. So I've witnessed that, and I'm very concerned about that. If he, and it is in writing that he has disregarded that other meetings protocols. He was there to cause conflict, and he was kind of in what is it? He caused conflict, and the sole meeting to disregard those folks and cause disruption. So to me, that is just unbecoming of a board member. And whether you're in the capacity of a board member attending adjacent board meeting, or you are taking your board hat off and you're just being a person and you're being rude, that to me is just not the kind of board member that the Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council wants. So I'm very concerned about that. And I've seen the emails, I've heard other folks talk to me. So I could see that happening because I've witnessed it on our own meetings. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Alfredo?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just kind of wanted to know, I mean, yeah, Brian, it's very unusual that we have a proposed code of conduct violation without finding the facts. And it's unusual also that we have the person that we're going to be talking about go first or explain. We don't even know what we're actually going to be asking about. I think this is something that we do need to address and we do need to discuss. I don't necessarily think it should be a Brian Allen main topic, but I think the code of conduct should be addressed. Sometimes we need to be reminded about our code of conduct outside of our own meetings, even though sometimes in our own meetings our code of conduct is maybe subject to be disciplined. But at this point in time, I just want to say that having Brian go first on his discussion and not knowing what it is that the facts that we have found, it's a bit of unusual order.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that input. Karen?
Thank you, Oscar. I think because there are some of us on this call who attend other meetings, and if you make a public comment on an agenda or non-agenda item, that's perfectly fine. But as I understand it, from members of the public feel bullied. And Maya Angelou said it best. People may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they do not forget the way you make them feel. And that is what is the issue here, is that how did they know? They shouldn't know what neighborhood council you're from. If we can keep it at where it doesn't get to bullying, so that we don't get complaints. I mean, we've been getting some complaints, and we shouldn't be getting them. So I think it's great to know things and all of that, but nobody has any authority. I mean, the city of LA pays people to do all that stuff, but we don't have any authority. So when it comes down to bullying, which is what the public is complaining about, and they feel we wouldn't like that to happen to our neighborhood council. That's the thing that I'm concerned about here, is that we have to treat others as we want to be treated. And so that's the concern here, is that if the tables were turned and all of a sudden we have people disrupting our meetings, then we can't get anything done. So I think, in light of some of the emails that we received recently, we all know you, we could get along fine, but the members of the public outside of the Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council boundaries really shouldn't know who you are, and they should not feel, we shouldn't hear anything. So, if we can just keep it in Granada Hills North boundaries, simple public comment on agenda, non-agenda items, and not try to be, an authority or anything like that, I don't think we'll have that problem. But it is a concern, we are living in, I'm going to make a last point and stop. But also that neighborhood council has a right to do whatever their president decides. And it's not our business. It's nobody's business but theirs. We don't want anyone minding Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council business, but Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council, and we should not mind any other neighborhood council's business. So that's enough said, but let's be mindful of everyone's mental health also. We just wouldn't want someone to suffer emotional harm because they were bullied. And that's it. Thanks.
Oscar, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you. Alvin, you got the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to echo a couple of comments, and I'm just gonna simply speak in general, because it's just kind of like with me at work, I've gotten called out on this before and I've owned it, but it's sometimes, yeah, something, but it's like, for example, if I step into somebody's position and I do something, even though I know that it's not my job to do that, one of the things that was pressed upon me is that you're crossing boundaries. And it's okay. I get it in the sense of that as constituents, we have to keep our elected people accountable. But one of the things that we have to remember is if we don't have a shared interest in that community, that it's not our place to question what another president is doing. If there's an issue with how the president is doing something, that's something that should be discussed with the president one-on-one. That's not something that should be discussed before the public, because I have to agree, it's extremely disruptive to somebody else's meeting. We wouldn't like it if our meetings were disrupted. And I think where I'm coming from on this is this, like, look, I'm an advocate of the whole free speech thing, and I know that is constantly being thrown around, but it doesn't mean that we have the freedom to cross boundaries. And I think what I'm basically driving home here is stuff like this. I mean, there's obviously a reason that we're getting these emails. Yes, there is a little bit of fact finding that needs to be done, but there's a reason that the emails are being sent. So that being said, I think what I'm driving home is this is not making us look good as a board. And in order for us to gain that trust, I mean, all NCs are supposed to be partners. We partner with each other on Vank. We partner with each other on Lane. So I mean, I'm just saying that there's a more civil way to talk to whoever's leading their board on something that they may not be doing right. But there's a more professional way to do it versus doing it at their meetings. So that's just kind of my point, because otherwise it makes us look bad as a board.
Sorry. Thank you, Alvin. Sid, you got the floor. I keep muting myself. Sorry.
Thank you. We had our meeting last month more or less interrupted, and Oscar did a masterful job of running a meeting. He turned off the microphone basically of someone who's being inappropriate. These meetings, the whole notion of ruling basically has to be done by the person who's in charge of the meeting. If so you may have strong views, something I don't see as bullying, and I don't think in our code of conduct that there is a representation about our behavior at other neighborhood councils when we're. So to me, that's been always been my concern about how meetings are run when people are being bullied or whatever. It falls under the jurisdiction of the person running the meeting. When that's being observed, he has the power to interfere and cut the conversation off. And I wasn't at that meeting in North Hills, but the way Oscar runs a meeting, if something is getting out of hand, he takes over. And I think that's up to the president. At times meetings get out of hand. To say this is, I think that our ability to look at something that makes us good and look good as a neighborhood council. We're willing to explore issues. I don't think this is really under our jurisdiction, but I think these whole notions trying to put some sort of blame or behavior characteristics on Brian is a little overboard. I think we don't have the evidence on that. And I think to me, it sounds like that meeting was not run properly by the person running the meeting. And again, in my head, the last meeting we had, one of the talks was getting out of hand, and Oscar cut him off, basically. I think that's what is the appropriate method. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you for that. I'm gonna go, Brian, give you the floor, and then I'm gonna go to attendees because we've got a few that have their hands up.
I was going to recommend that you go to the attendees because I have a feeling I know what some of them are going to say. But the fact is, I could feel like I'm being bullied right now because comments are being made about what I'm saying, which nobody knows of what any of that was. The fact is that it is unfair to pass judgment on any person without having facts. And judgment is passed when you bring a motion to ask a question of whether somebody or deal with the question of whether somebody has been inappropriate. I have never been inappropriate, and I can bring witnesses to show that. Strong, yes. Inappropriate, no. And I dare anyone to give you facts where I was in that. When I say that I told them that their MER was not appropriate, it's because it wasn't appropriate. And if they were decent enough to actually record their meetings, none of this would happen and the evidence would be there. But there is no evidence. The only evidence that you could possibly find is people's comments. And that at best is hearsay. And I can refute that with other people's comments. So I don't care what North Hills West says about me. They have a right to say whatever they want. What I do have a problem with is how this council and members of this council have bought into these allegations without even asking a question, without trying to determine what was the code of conduct violation. Because in grievances, you have to have evidence. There is no evidence here, and you cannot have evidence unless you have some facts. And I am appalled at our council for buying into this and taking this forward without asking questions, without having evidence that they can talk to. The statement of, well, some people can feel bullied and that's bad. Well, I'm sorry, we are public agencies and we have the right to make our own decisions and speak our mind. And it is our responsibility to do so. But it is also our responsibility to be decent about it. And you will never find any evidence that I have attacked anybody, verbally or otherwise. I have simply stated the facts, as I have stated today with the fact that recordings are able to be done by the Brown Act, under the Brown Act. So I find it, and this is the exact same tone that I take with anyone else that I'm using now. So if anybody's offended by the way I am speaking, I am sorry they feel that way, because that means to me, they don't understand. So thank you very much for letting me speak.
Point of order, please.
Thank you, Brian.
Point
What's
of
up,
order.
Ralph?
First of all, was the meeting that you were at recorded?
No.
Then how did, if it wasn't recorded by recording is allowed by the Brown Act. There's no question about that. You can record by sound and you record by pictures. And I have a letter here that proves it.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm going to move on to attendees now, and then we'll see about closing this off. Glenn, you've got the floor. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay,
Glenn,
thank you. Yeah, sorry. Glenn Bailey, speaking as an individual. So I know most of you, especially those of you who are on the board before COVID. I know most of the board members at North Hills West, especially those that were on the board before COVID, because I've met them and attended the meetings. North Hills West more than Granada Hills North, because you meet the same night as the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. And also my bicycle advisory committee. So no slight on Granada Hills North. It just, there's other things going on. But I see many of you, as I said earlier. I do attend, Brian and I, as you know, have had overlapping service in the neighborhood council system. We were both part of the city clerk's working group when they set up the funding program. We helped advise the city clerk and gave advice, which some of it was taken as far as what ended up in the policies and guidelines in terms of how you actually conduct and the financial aspects for the city clerk. So when Brian speaks, and of course he's treasurer here of Granada Hills North for many years, when Brian speaks, he knows what he's speaking about. And unfortunately, for a period of time, the North Hills West was not, they were piecing together the backup documentation on their monthly expenditure report. They were taking those 2 pages of summary and then compiling the receipts themselves, like building a Frankenstein. They'd take all the documents, put them together. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to generate the MER and it automatically generates with all the appropriate documents associated with that. They are now doing it correctly, and Brian is correct. Brian did speak up and I backed him up, or I spoke and he backed me up, but several months ago, I spoke with the treasurer, Pat Crone. We had a lengthy conversation. They're good to go now with their monthly expenditure reports. Brian is opinionated. You may not like the way he delivers. You may not like the way I deliver messages, but I think we both had a responsibility, and we weren't the only ones. There was a member of their board who spoke up on it because they were following the rule, wanted to follow the rules too. So the other thing I just want to say is I was at the meetings in question. Brian did indicate to them about the recording of the meetings. He provided to them the section of the Brown Act that specifically allows the recording of meetings. And they had well over a month to contact city attorney or just simply go to the government code and look it up themselves. And so Brian, the following meeting, Brian said the same thing, you have a right to record. And they said, you are prohibited from recording it, which is a violation of the Brown Act itself to prohibit anyone from recording it. The city attorney is looking into this, but ironically, the neighborhood council itself recorded their own meetings when they were in person, before there was Zoom. They had their own recordings that they did. So it's, this is the same board where the former president, John McGovern, bullied and harassed the female board members to the extent that they'd had a mass resignation. The 5 women on the board had a mass resignation, and they then went to Nuri Martinez and said, this is how we're, and the department knew this. They were under exhaustive efforts with the city attorney's labor relations section. I mean, the department, everyone knew about it, but it just, anyway. So then, they went to Nuri Martinez. Nuri Martinez introduced a motion, which is why we now have the code of conduct, because of what happened at North Hills West a number of years ago. Some of the same people, I don't know if they're in your meeting here tonight, but some of the same people were on that board at the time that former president, now resigned and no longer on the board, bullied and harassed the female members of the board. So, it's just rather hypocritical to me to hear that Brian, when he's trying to help the board, to be accused of this sort of thing. And lastly,
Thank you, Glenn. Time's up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Is that John or Michelle Hales? Please.
Yep, that's John again. Just quickly, I was at that meeting as well. Brian is Brian. I think he's phenomenal representative. But I think the real key issue here is out of the two areas, the people that are attending the meeting outside of the board and the people on the board were two groups. The one on the inside, if you will, leadership, the leader, took it upon herself to challenge everything Brian said. But let's make it clear. Almost a year ago, when she started, and as I've mentioned, I've gone to, now I think it's 378 meetings now, Zoom meetings, and I try to make every one of theirs because it's interesting. But she has chosen to ignore all the rules, regulations, etc. And it's based on this is what I want, and this is what we're going to get. That is exactly the path in the past that she runs through and the way that she runs the meetings. She cuts people off. Brian got very angry with her comments. She got very angry with, and pretty soon it was only two people in the meeting. But I tell you what, that is exactly as Glenn said. She drives the meetings. She drives the board. Thank you.
Thank you, John. See, I've got some Pat Crone. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Pat Crone. I am the treasurer in question of North Hills West Neighborhood Council. I am treasurer because, not because I have any particular knowledge of being treasurer, but because nobody else on the board wanted to be treasurer, so I am doing it as a volunteer. And I'm doing the very best that I know how. And I realized that I was making a mistake in how I was doing the MERs, and now we are doing them correctly, I guess. But at the one meeting, it was very clear I am neither stupid nor I am incompetent. And in Brian's tirade against me, he implied to everybody that was there that I am both stupid and incompetent. And that really hurt. I mean, it would hurt anybody, but it would hurt somebody in particular who was trying to learn how to do a job.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Crone, for that input. Miss Deborah Francisco. Please unmute. Oh, you've got it.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm a North Hills West stakeholder, and I am not happy with Mr. Allen's conduct, especially at the last two meetings, wherein he did insist that our president, who is doing a fabulous job, record. She says it's her right not to, and that is her right. However, when she said that I do not want to be recorded, Mr. Allen, took a vote of our board who said we do not want to be recorded, he proceeded to insist that he is going to record. I'm sorry, but if somebody says do not record me, you should have dual respect to stop that recording, whether it is your right or not. And it is their right to not be recorded. In addition, our president is holding people to 2 minutes at least. We have a lot of people who wish to speak. If you do not hold somebody to a 2-minute or 3-minute time limit, you're going to have a meeting that will extend to midnight. So she is trying her best to have some decorum at our meetings. And I don't appreciate when anyone from any council comes to our council and berates our treasurer and makes her feel stupid and incompetent, which she felt. And to the stakeholders such as myself, we deserve the respect from anybody coming to our council to respect it, us. And if we do not want to be recorded, we do not want to be recorded. We would offer your council the same thing. I would never come to yours to insist nor insult your president on how you operate. That is your business. I will treat you with respect, and we deserve to be treated with respect as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Francisco. Steve Thomason, you have the floor. Unmute yourself, please.
Hi. I will echo a lot what Karen had said about respect. First of all, Pat Crone is really a wonderful person. I go way back with her. I didn't know this, but she was my school teacher. So she's a smart woman. Brian has been so disrespectful to her group. I actually decided I would contact the mayor's office and report this. I reported Brian, and I reported Gary Fordyce, because the two of them, when they get together, it's like they just want to fight. And I'm like, aren't we neighbors? Why are we at war with each other? We don't need to do this. We need to be better than this. You know, your council, you guys operate really good. But when we have these visitors that come in that are just respectful to the president, to the members of the board, to the stakeholders, we don't need that. We're better people. We can't do this all the time. I would request that Brian should just butt out and keep out of the meetings. If he thinks it's so bad, then let it go. If it's going to be destroyed, let it get destroyed. But these people work hard. They don't make a dime. Putting them down. Please, Brian, just grow up and let it go. Keep away from this council. Be better. We deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Dave Brown, you have the floor.
Good evening, everybody, and congratulations to you on your youngest board member. Let me quickly give you the other side of a coin. I have not missed a meeting. I've been there from the start to the finish of every meeting, so I've seen it all. And this particular topic is not a one-time singular occurrence. Words have meanings, and the manner of the delivery of which affects the perception of the people hearing those words. So when a board member from one NC attends another NC's meeting, that guest board member should maintain the decorum and adherence to the code of conduct, code of civility, and all the other trainings, especially the anti-bias trainings, and specifically towards a female in an authority position, which, as Sid described, when she's trying to maintain decorum. Unfortunately, the North Hills West Neighbor Council has been subject to the pontificating rules police as administered by an outside board member. And this is particularly frustrating and aggravating and disruptive when the incorrect facts are delivered as gospel, at considerable loss of time efficiency during the meetings, as you might imagine, to the point of driving away stakeholders, and even an occasional board member has left in frustration. So as a result, our board has incurred vacancies we haven't been able to fill, and prospective members attend one of our meetings and, witnessing the behavior exhibited, decline to participate. So we respectfully request that this antagonism be stopped. Perhaps additional or repeat trainings might be appropriate, but anything this board can do to help us would be very much appreciated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it. Okay, one more, and then we're going to close this off. Okay, Alfredo.
Yes, sir. I just some of this, obviously a lot of things going on here. I just wanted to kind of say that we seem to have gone backwards on this motion here. And obviously we did not know what everybody's position was and what we needed to hear and what facts remained at. We as a board have been or could be criticized. We run obviously our meetings a little differently. The comment that I want to be able to make is that someone may give us an opinion as to how we do things. We have the right to, at that point in time, simply say, hey, we're not going to take that opinion because that's not how we're going to do it unless it's a legal matter. Another thing is if Brian was out of line, and if he was, sometimes we might get hurt because someone's telling us the truth. And sometimes we need to also step back a little bit. And Brian is a little bit, how can I say, about being right all the time. And that is to a fault, maybe. That is one of the things that Brian does. However, he's very helpful in a lot of things, in pointing things in the right direction. And we may be rubbing people the wrong way when we consistently tell them how wrong they are. And it's maybe he took it upon himself to just let them know what they needed to correct. And maybe he wasn't as constructive as most people would like to receive it, but because we have all our perceptions. Handling meetings is all relative. She's new. Did Brian know this? We don't know. She's fairly new. She's learning how to do these kinds of things. I don't know how you, Oscar, handle it. You're so well mannered and know how to do it. But also, we as a board, we follow right behind you and attend to, or should I say, we keep a higher, what's the word I'm looking for? We keep a higher stature of things above our own personal opinions. And maybe that's something that other NCs don't have. And because we have it, doesn't mean that we are the perfect and we're the right ones. We need to force everybody else to do it the same way. But I think that may be one of those things that may have happened here. I heard an opinion from somebody saying, hey, maybe I took it a little bit offensively and maybe you shouldn't have done it. And one thing that I haven't heard is from Brian saying, accept the fact that he's right. So he's apologizing that someone took it the wrong way. That's not the way you apologize. An apology is a little bit different. So anyway, not that he needs to apologize if that's what if he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to do it. That's not what this is about. But I think we have a higher calling than this to keep ourselves united. And that's the reason why we handle things differently. But doesn't mean that we need to force others to follow that same specimen, or because if they're struggling with volunteers, I mean, we have the same struggle too here. Luckily, we've got quite a few key people that know what they're doing and they handle it. I appreciate that, and that's the reason why I stayed along. Hey, I am not handling things the way that they should be handled, but the people in here they know what's right, they know what's wrong, and we're trying to adhere to those rules. That's just a comment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alfredo. Okay. Ralph, you have your hand up on the phone. Where is he? He's not on the panel. Okay. I'm going to let one more person speak, and that's Madalena, and then I'm going to cut it off, and we're going to move on. Ms. Manasian, you have the floor.
Well, thank you. Speaking as an individual, I'm Madalena Manasian. I am the president of North Hills West Neighborhood Council. I became the president June of last year. I, just like Pat, took the responsibility because nobody else wanted to. Now, my board and I and our stakeholders do fine when we are left to do our own business. When the outsiders come in and push their own agenda, wanting us to vote certain way about certain things, about certain CIS or whatever the case may be, and when we don't go to their direction, then chaos starts. Now, Brian Allen spoke about 2 meetings about recording, but he naturally did not say the truth. January meeting, when he came and talked about the recording, I had asked him if he would please send me the information, email me for me to look into, since we do have some board members that did not care to be recorded. So therefore, and I had checked with Don, and RNEA had said that I wasn't required to record. So therefore, we had opted not to record. This wasn't a personal choice. This was something that, you know, I had taken into consideration based on other board members' requests. Now, February meeting, he did come and he said what he said as far as it's a Brown Act, where in January he said it's a federal law, and I wasn't aware of any federal law. In any case, so February, he did state whatever Brown Act it was. I said, okay, I'll follow up with the CA, but for now, yeah, you know, we're not giving you the right to record. So I did look into the matter. So now I do realize that there is such a law, which is fine. But prior to all this, Brian has been a problem when he comes to our meetings. His tone is inappropriate. His demeanor is inappropriate. He threatens. He bullies. He makes remarks that is inappropriate. He's not the police of our neighborhood council. We have an NEA that is comes to all of our meetings. If we're doing anything inappropriate, I am sure that it's going to be addressed with me or with my board. If we're doing any funding matters, for that matter, that we are not doing accurately, we have Mariel, the funding rep, that will kick whatever it is back and say that we are not doing it right. He feels that he is in charge. He doesn't show any decorum. He doesn't show any respect. He's just out of control. And as far as Glenn Bailey is concerned, Glenn Bailey is omitting a lot of truth also. And he's bringing up something that I wasn't even part of that board, to say that this board is constantly harassing its own members. It's ridiculous and shameful to even go as far that back. I wasn't even part of that board when Mr. Bailey brought that conversation. So
Thank you, Magdalena.
with all due respect, I have said it from the beginning. We're all neighbors, okay? We're all neighboring NCs. Why can't we be respectful to one another? Why does people have to feel that they're more authoritative and that, you know, their word has to supersede than my word? Why? I come to your meetings. If I have ever came, I don't interrupt. Why does he feel that he has to constantly interrupt our
Ms.
meetings?
Manassian, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to close this off. We are done. There's been a lot of input here, a lot that we can take from the conversations, from, you know, pretty much all the comments. I mean, and the one here that's really big, and I think, again, we all should take on, and that is that we're all volunteers, right? I mean, so for us to take on this role is a big ask, and we do it for our community. But the important thing here is that, and it's been said, and that is that we work together. We are part of a neighborhood council. We are part of the bigger picture. Our community is not just those borders that we represent. They are the community at large, city of Los Angeles. So we should all work together. And I'm going to say, Brian, you definitely are, I mean, full of knowledge. I mean, and so that is one thing that, you know, one of the many things I should say, you know, that is great about you. You are full of knowledge in so many different aspects. And it's great that we want to take that information and we want to share it. But we also need to kind of figure out and know, okay, what is our lane? We can share that and we can bring it to the forefront. But if someone is not willing to want to take it, then at that point, we just might have to say, okay, I did what I had to. I'm going to step back, let that person or let that group figure out how they need to navigate. And if that means working with their NEAs, that's why we have NEAs, then give them that opportunity, right? Give them that right. But at the end of the day, we all need to work together. That's what we're about. And that's what's going to make a better community. So with that, you know, I want to say thank you to everyone, you know, for your input. and let's get past this, I hope, and that we can work together. So. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Now, let's move on then to item H, the treasurer report. Where's Mr. Allen?
I'm here.
Right.
Are we not voting on this? Is this
No, this is not
proposed motion to cure and correct? Or, I mean, what are we doing with this?
I was actually going to ask the same question because I thought
It's
it was
just
a
a point of,
motion.
it's just a point of order. It's not, not that I need to punish somebody or I need to, say nothing, but what are we doing with this?
I don't know that we actually necessarily need to take an action on this.
No, it was discussion and we just left it at discussion. It proposed means
Okay.
if someone
Proposed
decided.
motion to cure and correct, sounds like there's fault there. So that's the only reason I'm asking. And that's the reason why obviously Brian was pretty upset about it. And he went on the counter offensive to make sure he defended himself, right? Just wondering.
Then actually, Oscar, can I, as a board, but can I make a motion then? Is that a proper time to do it? Or do you want to talk first and then ask? I'm not sure.
What are you referring to, Thomas?
Item number F, it says discussion and proposed motion. Obviously, we discussed it. The next, word is proposed motion. So I'm wondering if there is a motion on the floor. If not, I'd like to propose one. So that's why I'm asking you for your direction and kind of what we're doing today.
Well, we can't necessarily propose new motions. If we want to do that, then we can discuss it for the next meeting, right?
He's not proposing a new motion. Are you proposing an amendment to this motion?
Oh, it says discussion and proposed motion, and he says he wants to propose a motion.
Oh, he's proposing another motion. Okay.
No,
Sorry, I just need to know what I need to put on here because
Oscar,
need
Oscar,
to
may
know.
I interrupt? You did put on here proposed motion. If someone wants to make a motion, they have every right to make a motion. Because you did put on there proposed motion. So a motion may be made at this point. You also have the right to say you won't accept anything further than discussion, but you did put it on there. If someone does speak up and wants to make a motion, let them make a motion.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Okay, so is that the direction that, Thomas, you want to take?
Yes, it is.
Okay, what's that motion?
Sure. Yeah. In light of hearing from the president and the treasurer, who were stated on record, they were berated by Brian. I'd like to propose the motion that. Well, actually, let me actually backtrack before I propose that the motion that I want to present. I'm kind of curious on that item number F. It's this discussion and proposed motion. We've definitely discussed it ad nauseum. The next sentence it says proposed motion to cure and correct. So I'm wondering, have we cured and we corrected the code of conduct violation by Brian? Or I'm kind of confused where we're at, because I don't know, unless you guys executive have recommendations. I mean, I'm not sure, nothing's been said to cure and correct. So I'm curious where we're at first.
I think the curing collection was bringing this forth before the board and having the discussions that we had. That's what that is.
Okay, thank you
I
for
would say
clarifying.
Oscar's comment, I'm sorry, Thomas. I would say that Oscar's closing remarks, if you will, on the agenda item were that a form of cure and correct. I received it that way. I can't speak for anyone else, but I think that we all received Oscar's comment well, and we do. I think Oscar's comments are acceptable. Closing remarks, I should say.
Okay, thank you for interjecting there, Karen. So Oscar, yeah, I'd like to propose a motion. The motion I would propose is a proposed motion to censure, cure, and correct code of conduct violations by Brian Allen at NC board meetings and committee meetings outside of GHNNC, period. That way this doesn't happen again. Thank you.
I think that was the whole motion. What are we changing on here? Can you repeat that again?
He wants to
Sure.
add, he wants
You
to
were
add
bas-
censure.
Well, yeah, basically,
Censure,
correct. Thank
okay.
you. We're adding the word censure, correct? Because I think there has not been any remorse or anything from Brian. He's pretty adamant that.
Point of order.
Well, point of, point,
No discussion
what-
unless there's a second.
Right, what is the, I'm trying to figure out what the motion is, or the amendment is, so that way I can,
Do you want me to reread it?
yes, please.
Okay, sure. If you basically look at item F, and
Uh-huh.
you just start with the word proposed, I just want to start at the word proposed. Motion to add the word censure, comma, cure, and then basically to the period at GHNNC. That's my motion. Thank you. Is that
Okay,
clarify?
give me a second. Yes.
Sure. Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Censure, and what is censure, just for my,
That might be a better, either for Gibson to clarify, since obviously he is the person we look to for that. So I would defer to Gibson.
censure, like, okay, let me look it up. I can look it up. Sorry.
Gibson, are you there?
Okay.
It looks like he is signed on.
I'm here. My computer just died. Sorry about that.
So did you hear the question, or do you want me to repeat it, Gibson?
No, I heard it. I
Censure
think
means
before I want to make sure you also, I just want to recommend everybody take a look at the bylaws. When it comes to censure process, it's stated as to what the censure is within the context of the neighborhood council system. It's to bring notice to a board member in regards to maybe he may have not followed sort of procedures that are within the rules and procedures within the neighborhood council system. I think one of the things that's been brought on for a board member is, while there's a need to bring in the conversation of censure, the conversation of code of conduct has been discussed within the parameters of this motion. So I'd sort of recommend the board just vote to finalize this discussion and end it, but having discussed what the code of conduct issues were, and then we go on to the next thing. I would recommend that the board not take too much time on discussing further what the next actions are because the boundaries of this motion are dictated on the agenda. So that's what I would say in terms of curing and correcting. The matter has been discussed by the board. The board members have been given the opportunity to highlight sort of where he's coming from, and then the board has discussed it. And with that,
Right. Okay, so we are amending, just adding censure to this motion, basically?
The board would have to sort of be a completely new board type of discussion. It cannot be brought in as.
Sorry, Gibson, I'm asking Thomas. So you want just the word censure to be added, censure, comma, cure, and correct code of conduct violations?
Correct.
Yes.
You'd have to follow within the bylaws. I would have to disagree. Please take a look at the bylaws as to how censure process works.
That's what Gibson is saying, Alfredo, that we should not take that action at the moment. Right now, we should focus on what this item is.
Yeah.
And if there's additional action to be taken, then that's a different item that we would need to put that on the agenda, but that requires more.
Well, someone has to second it.
Permission to speak.
What I'm
Oscar,
saying is
permission
that
to speak. Oscar, permission to speak.
Go ahead.
This, censure is a formal process, which was
Correct.
definitely, it would never be the intent. This is not that process. This type of outside of the box thinking is an alternative. We don't want to go down this type of formal process. That's actually a very lengthy process. It's not something that can be done with just.
So Thomas brought up an amendment to this. We then second it, we then discuss it, and we disapprove of it if we need to disapprove of it. That's what Thomas is suggesting. We're not voting on it just yet. He's asking me to add this to it as an amendment to the motion. Now we need someone to second it. If no one seconds it,
it dies.
That's the point of order, or no?
It's a point of order. There's no motion there. There should be no discussion. No second.
There was a motion, right? Exactly.
There's no second. It's not on the floor.
There's no second, right? I was just asking how I need to word this, and do we have anybody to second it? The answer is no. Okay.
So it dies.
Thank you, Thomas. So now, do we have anyone that will motion the approval of this motion? Or does it require a vote? That's all I'm asking.
There's no motion yet.
No, he's talking about how it's written down right now.
It says discussion of proposed motion to cure. I'm sorry, there is.
Well, had the discussion and everything.
Trying. There's no
So-
chat. I'll call.
Point of order. Oscar,
Yes, sir.
if there is a motion on the floor, it needs to be seconded. If there is no motion on the floor, then we move forward. But if there is a recognized motion, then we go right back into discussion. If you have a second, you go right back into discussion of it, and I'll be happy to discuss it.
Okay.
We know that.
I'll be happy to get out of here early too, guys, but you know.
Well,
just kind of like, what are we doing? That's all I need to know.
So here,
Sid, you're muted. Sid?
Yeah, Mr. Croy is in the attendees. He would like to get back into the meeting.
What?
Oscar, you have Glenn Bailey with his hand up.
hold on, where's Ralph? Okay, let me promote Ralph.
And if we could,
Glenn?
maybe it is 9:07.
Glenn, go ahead, you've got the floor.
You know, if there's no motion, I don't need to speak, but Gibson is absolutely right. There is a formal process. It's Article 5, Section 8 in your bylaws and every neighborhood council bylaws.
Yep.
There's a formal process, which includes a 30-day notice, agendizing, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're looking at something like that, you absolutely have to look at your bylaws and follow them, because otherwise then you're subject to a grievance, and that's exactly what's happening with North Hills West. They censured one of their board members, and now there's a grievance that they have to deal with. So please, 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 please be very careful.
Yep.
Thank you, Glenn.
I'm on my hands up.
Yeah, yes, Sid, go for it. You've got the
I
floor.
move to suspend and table this motion.
Second.
Suspend or table? Suspend means remove it completely, table it for another time.
Suspend.
Second.
Okay. So
I think
we have a
I can
second.
discuss it. I think we discussed enough, but we've spent enough time. I think we should move on.
I agree. Okay.
The time is 9:07. Shall we move on?
So do we need to vote then on that one? Because there was a second to
Yes.
suspend it.
Vote.
Yes.
So the motion is to suspend it. Okay, any opposed to that? State your name, please. Any abstentions? State your name.
Thomas Hartsfield opposed.
Okay, hold on, let me make note of that. Thomas Hartfeld, okay. All right, and the yeses have it. Okay. All right, let's move on. So now Brian, treasurer's report.
Okay, can we go on to the treasurer's report?
Hold
Yes,
on, sir. Hold on. I'm still taking notes, guys. Shorthand is not my forte here. Here 1 second.
That's 'cause your
Okay,
fingers
so
are
how
too
many
long.
did we get? Thank you, sir. How many did we get to, how many yeses to suspend the motion?
13.
Total?
Okay, well, let's see how many. do
Was
we
it?
have?
Well, wait a minute. No, Raheem's not here.
Raheem
So
is,
there was,
so 13, so that would be 12 then, because Thomas abstained.
No, he was opposed.
was opposed, yes.
Oh, was he opposed? I thought he was abstention. Okay.
No. So we have 12 yeses?
Yes, that would be correct, right?
Oh.
14 less Raheem, that's 13. Yeah, so 12. Okay.
Okay.
Can we move on?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Took all the notes.
All right, Brian, you
Can we move forward?
you can move on before.
Okay, first of all, because of the fact that another one of my screw ups, because I did not ask for an extension on the $1,000 limit on spending on the card. Our submission of the receipt for the shred event was holding up our MER. I did not get the MER generated until this afternoon. Therefore, I did send it out to everyone, and if everyone has had a chance to look at it, we can bring it up on screen if we want and deal with it. Otherwise, I would recommend that we
table it
on this and go to next month.
We'll postpone it for next month.
Okay, thank you. Budget advocates, because I'm gonna try to make this real quick. Budget advocates are deeply involved in the things that we're deeply involved in with the budget, city budget, but with the removal, I shouldn't say removal, with the resignation of Raquel, there is going to be a lot more discussion by the budget advocates this Friday with regards to what the budget advocates want to do with which I'm not exactly in total agreement with regards to dealing with how the budget advocates have been treated to date by Dunn. And that discussion will happen this Friday at an exec-com meeting. So I may have more information to share next month, but at this point, there really isn't a lot. The budget day has been changed, and I'll get more information to present on that, but unless Glenn wants to pop in and give more information from his perspective, I don't believe that there's much more that we need to discuss or present with budget advocates. So if Glenn wants to jump in, I'd be willing to allow him to do so, and he's got his hand up.
Glenn, you have the floor.
Really, really quick. A written report was sent out last Thursday night, so everything current as of then. So please take a look at that. And in terms of budget day, the feeling is to do it virtually. It's June 17th. Do it virtually this year, and then plan for in-person next year, just in terms of logistics, etc. So that's the only thing I wanted to add. And by the way, the recording of the town hall with the general manager, former general manager of Dunn, and the proposed budget is up on the budgetadvocates.org website, and that's for you to look at. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Glenn.
I have one quick question. Oscar, I have one
Yes,
quick
sir.
question.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Just very quick. Brian and Glenn, the budget, what's their name? The Tribunes, what are they involved in, and why are they? Because the budget advocates are the primary, right?
Karen, from my perspective, and I'll let Glenn speak if he wants to. From my perspective, they are a separate entity that is trying to deal with issues of specific interest to them, department by department, but they are not the same as the budget advocates. To be honest with you, I really don't know any more than that. Glenn may know more than I do about them, but it's just another alliance, that's all.
Oh, an alliance. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Glenn, you've got the floor. Oops. Oh, sorry, I muted you. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Also, and try to make it one sentence, and Karen, I'm happy to talk offline with you. They basically were a break-off group from the budget advocates from summer of 2020, or maybe fall of 2020, a few folks, and with the stated purpose of focusing more on the city department services than the city's budget. But they haven't had a meeting since March of last year, as far as we can tell. So we're not really sure, in terms of a functioning entity, there's not much to share since no meetings, and therefore it's hard to know, et cetera. So I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, so then moving on, Plum, there's nothing there. I'm assuming, right, Jason? Okay, we'll move on. Emergency preparedness, nothing there. Citywide issues committee report. Sid,
Yeah, let me get to my agenda. Excuse me. I lost my agenda.
there's 3 items on there. Let
Did
me,
you-
let me.
My phone died. I lost my agenda. So can you tell me the order? I'll discuss them.
So I've got it up on screen. Let me see if I can.
Just read the motion, sir. Just read the
Okay.
motion, bro. Oscar.
Yeah, discussion.
Discussion and possible action regarding hybrid meetings at GHNNC supports the utilization of hybrid meetings when and if SB, and I think
It
this
should be A, it should be AB.
AB,
Instead of S, it should be AB.
and it should be AB 2441, I believe that was.
2449.
2449,
Four.
okay. Um,
That's correct.
is modified so that neighborhood council boards could convene in a safe and appropriate way.
The committee looked at the bill, and it's very complicated. If we want to go to hybrid meetings, there has to be all kinds of microphones and access and all kinds of, and we felt, the committee felt it was just too elaborate, it'd be very costly. And at the time, we would have felt, we did this at the January meeting, there was still the mask mandate in effect and everything like that. So we felt that the bill should be modified to incorporate the ability to have a hybrid meeting that's not so complicated, that's appropriate and safe. It's sort of vague language, but the language in the bill is so complicated, we felt that it had to be modified. Brian, Glenn Daly mentioned another bill. We never got the chance to discuss it at that meeting. We discussed it at the February meeting, but we didn't do it in time to get the resolutions in time for this meeting. So we'll discuss that in April. So we're just looking at this AB bill right now to just recommend, and this would go to Councilman Lee, asking him to inform the assembly that this is our request.
So just so I mentioned, I understand it's not supporting how it's written, but it's supporting based on this to modify it.
Modify, correct.
Okay.
And we would have to ask, since we can't communicate with them directly, we have to send that to our councilman and ask him to convey that to the assemblyman for our district.
Okay. Brian, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just want to add the bill is currently under possible modification, and that's what we're talking about. And to do a hybrid meeting under 2449, as Sid said, is pretty complicated. It's possible to do it without too much complication, but we'd have to be careful to follow the law exactly as 2449 is written. And if anyone wants to read it, you can look that up or we can send it to you. But it is not something that we would choose to get involved in. But the modification coming down the line would make it a little easier, assuming we can understand the modification language, which I found very complicated and very difficult to really comprehend. But it may change it. However, the speculation is that modification is going to take months and months, if not a year or two, to get through. It's possible to go through quicker, but it's unlikely at the moment. So we're just trying to find a way through this, and that's why the language, if modified. So that's the best I can tell you. And I know that Glenn has been following this a lot, and he does have his hand up. I would ask him to weigh in on this as well.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Fisk first. He had his hand up first. Richard?
Yes. Yes, AB 2449 was signed into law last year. It took effect. So any modification would actually be a new bill. And I don't know which bill that would be. So we'd have to follow the new bill because it's the law of the land is already there. And in that land, in the summary of 2449, it says allows until January 2026, members of a legislative body of a local agency to use teleconferencing without identifying and blah, 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 blah. So basically it says you can still use it until 2026. And there are a lot of provisions in there, but that's the law of the land right now.
Oh my, okay, thank you for that, Richard.
In other words, stay away from hybrid meetings.
Yeah. And there you go.
Okay. All right, Glenn Bailey speaking as an individual. So the bill I mentioned earlier in the meeting was Senate Bill 411. It was introduced by Senator Anthony Portantino, who represents the Eastern Valley and the Burbank-Glendale area. It would amend the Brown Act to the extent that it would allow local entities to opt in to a virtual meeting, so that you basically would have the ability, if you want to have your committees meetings virtual and on your board meetings in person, or some board meetings in person and some virtual, you could do that if, number one, it passes, and number two, if it gets amended, because right now it's worded just to apply to appointed boards, appointed entities. It is an urgency bill, so if it gets 2/3 vote of the Assembly and 2/3 of the Senate, signed by the governor, then it would go into effect immediately. It does have to go through the legislative process, which does take several months. So the earliest that it possibly could get passed would be, that could all happen would be 3 months from now. Just because it's got to go on the Senate and then the Assembly and governor, et cetera. So, and I just want to give you 2 council files, Sid, and you're right about AB 2449. It is very restrictive. You have to have a quorum of the board members in person present within your boundaries. And then the people who are not part of the quorum, there's only certain reasons that they can be apt that they can join, which includes illness, childcare, elder care, out of town on official business, etc. I do want to give you 2 council files that already exist, already been approved by the city council, and the mayor has signed off on them. They are on the same subject. You might be able to tack on a SB 411 action and file a community impact statement to one or both of these. So it's 23-002-S16 and 23-002-S17. And I believe Councilmember Lee was a mover or seconder of one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Richard?
Yeah, Glenn, what number, you mentioned Bill 441. I'm looking at the official state legislative site, and AB 441 is about.
No, Senate bill, Senate SB.
SB 441 is about criminal.
No, sorry, 411.
Well, okay.
I'm sorry if I misspoke. It's 411, like for information.
Oh, okay.
411.
Okay. All right, let's close this item for discussion. It is 9:24, time check. So let's move on and take a vote on this then.
Yeah, correct it anyway.
So any opposed to this, please state your name. I hear none. I'm sorry. Did someone state their name?
We're not taking action here, are we? I mean, there's no motion, right? It's just a discussion.
Yeah.
No, there's a motion.
In support meetings that Jason support the utilization of when and if SB 2 or AB 2449 is modified so that NC boards could, so it is a motion. Right?
Okay, so who suggested the motion and what motion is that?
Committee.
Citywide doesn't need a
So it
second.
doesn't need a second because it came from committee.
Sorry, I'm confused because there's nothing that says that we have a motion in the actual, but okay, let's go.
Oh, discussion of possible action.
Yeah, there was no, I don't know what the motion is. I mean, it does say supports the utilization of hybrid meetings, but what is it that are we doing? Are we? Sorry that I'm lost here.
Alfredo, it says to support
Supports.
the utilization of hybrid meetings if SB 2449 is modified. So that's the motion.
So there is some action on here, Alfredo, that we need to vote on.
Okay.
Okay, so let's vote. Any opposed, state your name. Any abstentions, state your name.
I abstain, sir.
Okay. Abstentions, Alfredo Castillo. All right, so this item passes with 12 votes. Okay, the next item, Sid, is discussion and possible action to ratify new MOU between NCs and DWP.
Right. The board of DWP approved extension. We are signatories to the memorandum of understanding with the DWP. It's supposed to be renewed every 5 years. This time was every 6 years, and the board in the January meeting voted to extend the MOU for another 5 years. And I just think as one of the original signatories, we should vote to approve to ratify continuation of our participation with the MOU with DWP for the next 5 years.
What is that MOU for?
Memorandum of understanding that was
specifically for what? I mean,
the DWP has agreed to certain conditions on if they make a rate change, they have to notify us that there's a major change, anything like that. And they have to meet with us on a monthly basis to discuss any changes or what's going on with the DWP.
I see. Okay. So basically, we're voting to just keep it as is for the next
5 years.
5 years. Okay. Got it. Any questions or discussion on this? Karen?
Sorry about that. Yeah, Sid, so in that memorandum of understanding, can we have an understanding that a DWP representative will be present at our meetings?
They'll send representatives, they'll respond to our requests, they'll send representatives, they'll give us notice of any major changes and rates, things like that. And it's been an ongoing thing for the past 10 years, every first Saturday of the month. One meeting is on the memorandum of understanding, the other one is on the political action committee, discussing political issues with the DWP. And even though we've gone through a number of directors, they've all been more or less very helpful in meeting with the neighborhood councils.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. None. I see none or hear none. So let's move forward and take a vote on this one. Any opposed? Please state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions? State your name. I hear none. This item passes with 13 votes. Okay, the next one said discussion and possible action regarding of losing water supply from Mono Lake.
So let me explain that. A long time ago, Los Angeles got most of its water from Mono Lake, which is in the Sierras. That's the original aqueduct came down from there. Over the years, LA has been losing its water rights to that lake because of the Mono Lake Conservatory, because when we're taking water off the lake, there's all kinds of dust and whatever. So we've been restricted to basically 160,000 acre feet, which provides enough water for 200,000 houses in Los Angeles. The Mono Lake Conservatory has now gone to the California Water Board based on an emergency that they want Los Angeles not to have any water from Mono Lake. Okay. And this is based on when the water level's too low in Mono Lake, there's a land bridge, And Mono Lake is one of the nesting grounds for seagulls in the United States. 15% of the seagulls in the United States nest in Mono Lake. So when there's a land bridge, coyotes can cross over and eat the seagulls. Okay, so so they're saying even now the water level is way over it's 2 feet above normal. They still want to deprive Los Angeles of their basically 10% of the water supply to the city. And since we were a little late, we were going to talk about sending it to the Water Board of California. They suspended taking new reports, but I think we can approve this and send it to DWP that we're opposing the actions of closing Mono Lake to supplying water to the city.
So
if we want to do that.
Alvin, you have your hand up. In the meantime, go ahead. You've got the floor.
I guess just a couple of things. One, I guess if I understand with what's going on, isn't a lot of the pushback coming from the tribal community in Mono County, if I understand that correctly?
I'm not aware of that pushback. I know the people living in Mono, the conservatory is pushing to take the water supply. I don't know about the what's going on with other residents up there. That could be possible.
Well, I just think, because I guess where I'm going with this is I just think, not saying for or against this, but I just think it's important to kind of understand the background of this, that, I mean, this was water that was originally, the land was bought out and that was technically tribal land. So, I mean,
that's not the argument now. The argument that was on this land bridge now has nothing to do with tribal land, as far as I know.
but I'm just saying it's just important to kind of understand that background. So I guess I just want clarification of what action specifically that we want LADWP to take, you know, if we were to move forward with this.
The action is to maintain the present water rights to the lake. That's the action.
Okay, and then, I mean, would we propose this in the form of the letter? And I mean, is this something that we would be able to review? Because I'm just saying that I just want a leg to stand on with the language if we were going to go that route.
Well, the letter, don't have the exact letter, but now the letter would go to DWP is that we oppose ending the water rights or ending the distribution of water from Mono Lake as proposed by the conservatory. That would be the.
Okay, all right. Thanks for clarifying.
No, thank you, Alvin. I appreciate that because I was also, as far as the way the motion is written, it's not very clear what exactly we're attempting to do here. So I appreciate you also asking for that clarification. Karen, you've got the floor.
Yes, I actually support this. I took that trip out there, and I think it was 2018, and yeah, I support this. It's actually beautiful territory, but I agree.
Okay, thank you for that. Any others? Any other comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Ralph.
The way we're saying this, when we say yes, do we agree on stopping the taking of water from the Mono Lake? Because when you say 1% of our or 10% comes to Mono Lake, I would question that very severely because we get so much water from all the rest of the state. Mono Lake is just a small amount that we get.
But this is only focused on Mono Lake, right? We're not focusing on all the other water sources.
Well, what I'm focusing on is where did the 10% of our water, that issue come up? Because I was also on a trip by the Department of Water and Power on their facility and that. And I saw what lake levels they had and what they were supposed to do by state and I think even federal government. If we're going to get into that debate, I think I have to get out my book on the
So
tour.
if that's something else that you'd like to put on the agenda, Ralph, I think that's a good discussion, but it's not what we're discussing right now. So let's try and stick to this item so that we can move forward because it is 9:30.
Hey, what we're saying is yes or no about taking water from Mono Lake, is that it?
That
We
is,
want to continue to have water rights, Ralph.
okay,
So-
Alvin,
I'd say, I mean, I probably would be okay with moving forward with it, proposing local solutions such as the continued push for stormwater capture locally.
okay, but again, how does that correlate with this particular item? I'm guess I'm missing something.
It doesn't.
Okay, so let's focus on the item. If there's something else that we'd like to add, that's something we can discuss at committee and put it on the agenda for the next meeting. But right now, let's focus on this particular motion. Aaron, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Hi there. So I was reading the LA Times article about this, and it talks about how they can they're working to install an electric fence to keep the coyotes away from the seagulls. Seems like that would be a better idea to prevent, you know, what they're claiming could happen than taking, you know, 1% of the water that Los Angeles receives provided by Mono Lake. So also, I was wondering how much of that water goes towards farmland versus going to residential customers.
All that water goes to Los Angeles, down the aqueduct.
Okay.
And there's a whole history of the seagulls and different approaches of keeping the coyotes away. They don't care about keeping the coyotes away. They want to take away the water rights altogether.
I agree.
And after it gets to the reservoir, it goes to water my lawn.
If you're one of the 200,000 houses, they get it.
Okay, let's close this item for discussion then. And let's take a position on it.
Let's vote, baby.
So any opposed? State your name, please. I hear
Well,
none.
I would oppose that.
Are you opposing? It's not discussion. We're taking a vote, Ralph.
Pardon?
We're not taking discussion anymore. It's simply a vote.
Yes or no?
Do you oppose it? Do you abstain? So any opposed, state your name.
I'll oppose.
Okay, thank you. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. This motion passes with 12. Actually, it would be 13, right? 13.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, is everyone back?
Who?
Is everyone back? Are we missing? Are we a total of 14? Well, one is absent, no?
One is
Raheem left.
Raheem left, yeah.
There you go. So we have. Now we have 13 yeses and one no.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll compose those letters. I'll get them to you.
13 yeses and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
So motion passes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
But you're right. I think you're right. I think it's 12 yeses and 1 no, because Raheem is no longer here. Huh?
With all the rain and snow, expect another motion next month to limit the amount of water that we can take.
That's true, and probably less crime too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Time check 9:40. Let's try and keep these.
Stop checking the time. Let's just go, man.
Yeah, I've got to work tomorrow. Who doesn't,
Come on,
right?
come on,
Okay.
Rafael.
Public Safety Committee report. Nathan, are you still awake, dude?
I am still awake. Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll try to keep this moving. So
Thank you, sir. Do you have the agenda in front of you?
I do, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Item L1 was discussion and potential motion regarding collisions at Rinaldi and Balboa caused by motorists passing through the red light to make left turns from northbound Balboa to westbound Rinaldi. Mr. President circulated our draft letter that came out of committee. That's item L1. It's a one-page draft letter. Just in short, the committee was concerned about traffic that is turning northbound Rinaldi, making that left turn onto northbound Balboa, making that left turn onto westbound Rinaldi. And the issue primarily is the unprotected green light, i.e. when it's not a green arrow, it's just a circular green light. That northbound traffic on Balboa, making that left turn and crossing against southbound traffic on Balboa has resulted in a lot of traffic accidents at that intersection. As we all know, it's a very highly trafficked intersection, and the committee was trying to come up with creative ways to try to protect motorists and pedestrians and passersby at that intersection. And one idea that the committee came up with is that perhaps there could be either a green arrow or a red light at that intersection to prevent cars trying to make that left turn from northbound Balboa to westbound Rinaldi, and protect cars trying to run through that light that often turns from green to yellow to red. And you have 3, 4, sometimes more than that motorists trying to make that left turn and speed against that red light there. And again, there's a lot of cars that try to run southbound on Balboa, resulting in many accidents. So the committee came up with this one-page letter, and I'll open it up for discussion.
I've got it on the screen, so if anybody would like to just let me know if you want me to scroll. Okay.
I vote yes.
Any questions? Okay, so on this item, we don't need a second, but okay, so Alfredo says, oh, Jason, you've got your hand up. Oops, sorry, unmute yourself. There you go, sir.
I just wanted to say this is the same intersection that I was talking about, that big issue with people coming off of the freeway in the rightmost exit lane and then crossing Balboa all the way to the left turn lane across the solid white line, constantly pushing their way into cars, almost daring people to get out of the way. I see it almost every day. So that's another part of this intersection that something needs to be figured out, because you really don't have to sit there very long to watch people inappropriately cut all the way across from the rightmost exit lane of the Balboa off ramp going north on Rinaldi, and then cutting all the way into the left turn lane to make a left turn onto Rinaldi in a very unsafe manner. So it's same intersection, different issue.
Dangerous. Yes. All those moves are dangerous.
Yeah, it's
Brian?
constant.
Yeah.
Brian, you've got the floor.
Yeah, I have to absolutely support this, because the only reason that intersection isn't the most dangerous intersection in the valley is simply because nobody gets up enough speed right there with all that traffic. But it is certainly the most difficult intersection to navigate as far as timing to get through it in the valley. And we see the frustration every day, and I mean every day, with the traffic coming off the freeway because of the detour from the Reseda. Now, I realize that Reseda is going to be fixed, but if another way to solve this is to move the traffic off at, was it Havenhurst, and have that be the detour, but I think it's too late to propose such. But it is a very serious problem, and somebody's going to get hurt because it needs that red arrow for sure. because nobody pays attention. I even see people turning left from the middle lane, going north on Balboa, turning left in the middle lane onto Rinaldi. So it really
Yes.
is a difficult intersection.
Thank you, Brian. Alfredo?
Yes, I support this. Obviously, I said yes. One of the things that I also noticed in that intersection is that people making a left turn onto Rinaldi are going north on Balboa have a hard time judging the speed of the vehicles that are coming south of Balboa, because the speed of those vehicles going south of Balboa is actually downgraded. It's actually going a little on a slope. And so it's kind of hard for them to judge. So that makes it a little more difficult. So I totally support this this change. If it can happen, let's go for it.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's take a vote. Any opposed? State your name. I hear none. Any abstentions? State your name. I hear none. This motion passes.
All right.
That would be 13. And moving on to the next one, Mr. Lee.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Item L2 is discussion and potential motion for GHNNC Public Safety and GHNNC Outreach to co-host a town hall with CD12 due to the mental health and fentanyl crisis. This item was discussed at our February 1st, 2023 Public Safety Committee meeting. We had some discussion, and Karen Waters also joined that meeting that night, and there was discussion regarding I think the understanding amongst the committee was that we were going to try to get more information, perhaps from CD12 about a potential town hall, and then possibly re-discuss this in a committee meeting. But I'll open it up for discussion, and Karen, feel free to jump in on it.
Karen, you've got the floor.
Oh, sure. Actually, Matt Hernandez at CD12 is actively working on this. For us, he's has support from Councilmember Lee, which I'm sure Mirka can also attest to. So we're at this time looking for a location, and outreach will be discussing the outreach as well. And so yes, we will be discussing with public safety and outreach, and we'll stay tuned.
All right, thank you,
How
Karen.
big of a location are we looking for?
Well, I think, well, I'll let Caitlin speak on this some more, but Kennedy's lost their principal, the principal that we have been working with, and so the new principal declined. So we may end up consulting St. Euphrasia for this event as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm just thinking, I know there's another there's a temple here off Rinaldi.
Yes.
Temple Ahava Shalom. Forgive me if I mispronounce it, but AYSO rents their space sometimes, and they have pretty big space. That's something to consider. I mean, I know they charge a fee, but that's another area to consider.
Sure. Okay. All right. That sounds good. Well, it came up because Superintendent Carvalho had conducted a couple of the meetings, but then I don't think Richard Fisk is, oh, he is still here. Deputy Chief Hamilton spoke on this matter in December about the severity of this crisis, because it's partially fentanyl and it's partially mental health. And but you know, we want to expand that to our entire community and not just to the school. So that's how you know, how we gained councilman's support. And we'll
Awesome.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you both.
You
Alfredo,
can also look. You can also look at the women's club and ask if they're willing to host.
That's true. Thank you, Brian. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they have, we know they have the chairs.
I might, yeah, I might be able to put some pressure on that one.
There.
Oh, okay. There we go. See? But wonderful. That's excellent. We'll definitely add that to
Excellent.
the list.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
love all this. I love all this thinking.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right,
Alfredo, you've
thank
got
you,
the
Karen.
floor.
Proper behavior, sir. Proper behavior, sir. Let's not muscle out anybody. We don't need to muscle out. Hey, there's another question that I have for you guys. I've seen a lot of these fentanyl billboards out there. I guess there's a lot of this going on, and
discussion on this. Is there a correlation? First of all, is there a correlation of fentanyl and mental health as to why we're putting
Yes.
it together? And another question would be, if we're kind of like trying to co-host it, are we trying to do it in our area? Are we trying to do it in CD12 area?
Granada Hills North, if
Only
if
on Granada
possible,
Hills
or
North.
Granada Hills. If it definitely is the intent.
Okay. All right. First question. No, anybody answering the first question?
To answer your question, anybody that promotes and pushes fentanyl definitely is mentally ill.
Well, true.
The question was, is there a correlation between the use or abuse of fentanyl with mental health?
I
Well-
just added that.
Well,
It was a funny
to be,
comment,
well, no,
yes.
but to answer the question, no, but thank you
Oh
for the
my
question,
God.
Alfredo. So, so to clarify and be quick about it, as was discussed, then there was a town hall conducted by Superintendent Carvalho, and during that, the problem is that fentanyl is added to other drugs, and that's what's causing the fatalities, but where the correlation with mental health came in is that what's causing people to reach out to drugs. Drugs, usually when people reach out, there's some sort of a problem. So what is that problem? What's breaking down that communication with children and parents, or with family members and the community? So it's so deadly that it's important that we take it seriously and try to help save lives in our community by hosting this event.
Okay, thank you. Okay. There's
Any
more to come.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Ralph, is that you raising your hand?
Yeah, another place that might be available would be the Episcopal Church. They have a very big auditorium too. And we have had meetings there in the past.
That's also true.
There you go. Okay, so we've got places coming out of the woodwork. I love it.
I'll let Matt know. He's working on it.
Excellent. All right, any more comments on this? All right, let's move forward and take a vote on this one. Then, any opposed to this item, state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. Okay, this item passes. 13 votes. The next item.
Oscar, yeah, Oscar, item L3, before we move forward, I don't know if you need to possibly recuse yourself, but
Let me just do it for the sake of just to be on the safe side. So, Karen, let me give you, thank you for that. Karen, I'm going to give you the host functionality. I am going to I'm stepping away from my office, okay? I'm going to go out, so someone text me when you're done.
Go talk to Fernando for a little bit.
Do we have the letter? The rough draft of the letter?
Oh, I think Karen, I think this might be pretty short because at the March 1st meeting for Public Safety Committee, there was discussion regarding the letter itself, and there was an agreement amongst the committee and the public that we were going to revise the letter, and that's still being put together in draft format. So I think it might be best to maybe table this item until the next board meeting so that we have a revised letter that we can share with the board for discussion. Because the letter that was in draft format previously is going to be altered and changed. But I can tell the board right now that there was discussion about different ideas to incorporate into that draft letter that we had circulated previously. And for those that don't know, we're talking about the AYSO facility that's on Balboa Boulevard, and things we can do to try to increase safety on Balboa in all directions near Orozco, and trying to protect the public and protect everybody that's around that area, including people coming in and out of the AYSO facility, local residents, et cetera. Some of those items we discussed were, those mile per hour speed indicators that tell you when you're driving down a street, how fast you might be traveling above the speed limit. Other ideas we discussed were, certain signs indicating that there's a large, a turn ahead, et cetera. So again, the committee is currently in the process of trying to revise that letter, but I think it might be best for tonight's purposes to table the item till the next board meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, very well.
Do we have to vote on it?
And are there any
Yes, we do.
opposed to the, well, wait, Alfredo, you had a question?
I did, but we're tabling it, so we're good.
Okay, very good. So any opposed to tabling this until the next?
Actually, may I interject a second point of order? I don't think we want to table it. We want to postpone it.
Postpone, I beg your pardon. Thank you. Yes, we will postpone. Any oppositions to postponing? Okay, seeing there are none, we will postpone. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Karen.
And let's text Mr. Jimenez.
I'm back. Thank you, everyone. Are you guys done yet?
Yes, we are. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes,
We are.
postpone till next month.
Okay, are you ready to adjourn?
Right.
Okay, thank you, guys. All right, so then outreach publicity, I don't think there was anything, right?
No, just thank you to everyone who showed up, and Gibson as well. Thank you to everyone who showed up. It was a great meeting. The majority of the board was there, so it was great to see everyone in person, great to see the community, and we had an excellent turnout. Brian, what was the final capacity of the trucks?
I think I heard that it was 1 1/3 trucks out of the 2. So half of each truck was full. It was a good event, but it didn't have a lot of volume of shredding. We had a few people, but the volume of shredding was down.
Yeah, and we had, unfortunately, there was a group that booked an event for the exact same time as our event for the an outside group for the Home Depot, and they booked it for the exact same time as our event, which, as we all know, had been scheduled back in December. So there was a little bit of conflict there as well. People are passionate about both things. So, but we still had a good turnout, and it was good to see everyone. And thank you, everyone, for their participation, and Brian and Oscar and Jason, and Nathan for the
Everyone, it was a great turnout. It was a good turnout. Yes, thank you, Karen, everyone. And Brian, thank you all for putting it together.
Yes,
so I would expect that October, the one we do next, will be busier, given it'll be after tax season. So all those people want to get rid of tax stuff.
That's right.
Did you say in April?
No. October.
October,
September, October, right?
Yes.
So, Alvin, yes, sir.
Just simply putting it out there, stakeholder emailed me asking me when the next shred event is.
As I understand it, a lot of NCs are doing this now. We started it, but a lot of NCs are now doing it.
Yeah.
Gaining popularity.
Yeah, we are the trailblazers of the shred events.
Okay, Alfredo, you have the floor.
Yes, I suggestion for logistically, maybe next time we can have the maybe we can get better at doing the shred events and maybe have the trucks arrive, even if they cost us money, arrive an hour earlier, because it was a log jam for people waiting until the trucks got there. and they settled, and that's caused a little bit of a problem for me, and I think for a bunch of other people, because people just left their boxes there, and then we had to dispose of those boxes or boxes and bags, which we actually did not need necessarily to do if we could just put them back in their individual cars and stuff like that. Even though there was another event happening, we still had a logjam at that moment because of it. And it was a great turnout. There was a lot of people that showed up, but I think we could be a little bit more efficient on that.
Well, that was actually the first time that happened. We usually don't have that issue, but it just happened. I mean, we get the whole site to ourselves, and we do the best we can, but they're coming when it's time. Well, we discussed that with them, but they're not going to arrive early. I mean, we would have to pay for them to arrive early. So if the board votes for that, I mean, we can do it if the board votes to approve it.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what, even if it does cost us a little bit more money, but well, you know what? I hadn't been one in quite a while, and I show up, and that happens. Maybe I should not show up.
Nice
You're
try.
not getting out of
Nice
it that
try.
easy. Don't
Nice
even.
try, Alfredo. No, you know what it was? It's because they wanted to get that done so they can go to that Home Depot. That's what it was.
All right.
Karen's right. That's the first time that's ever happened. And
yeah, I agree.
Who knows?
It's Home Depot's fault. Okay, West Valley Neighborhood Alliance, Graham.
No report.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sustainability Alliance report, Mr.
No report.
Thank you, sir. Small Business Representative report, Mr. Allen.
No report. They don't want to talk to me.
Okay.
I bully them too much.
Well, the question is, do you go visit them? There's only a handful.
There's about 10.
Okay.
Most of them are gas stations.
Since when does a bulldog let go of that?
Since when what?
A bulldog never lets go. You should never let go, man. Go get him.
Yeah, right.
Business
The difference
representative.
between bulldog and bullying.
Okay.
All right.
Faith-based representative report, Mr. Croy.
I have no report at this time.
Thank you, sir. Oh my, look at student representative report. That would be.
She's probably got to sleep. It's past the bedtime.
No, she's
A little early.
Oh, poor thing.
She's doing her homework so she can get to bed on time.
right.
All right, Caitlin, thank you, and welcome again. We are so looking forward to working with you and appreciate you on the board. Thank you.
We are thrilled to have you.
All right, board member announcements. Let's go around the room. We'll start with Mr. Alvin Waters.
No major announcements, except I'm looking forward to attending WWE WrestleMania at SoFi both nights.
Very cool. Well, have fun.
I will.
All righty. Michael. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Anything to announce?
I do not.
All right. Thank you, sir. Much
Thank you.
appreciated. Robert. Is he still here? Did he drop off? Where's Mr. Moore?
Oh, maybe he dropped off.
I don't see his name
I don't see
anywhere.
his name either, so now.
Looks like we might need a sergeant at arms to keep us in line for accountability of all our votes.
Yeah, Mr.
Just saying.
That was Fernando's job.
Oh,
right?
he left.
He left. He left. He left.
He left.
Okay, Jason.
Good seeing everybody, and I know everybody tried really hard to scare Caitlin this meeting. So we'll see how shaken her nerves were if she comes back.
Yeah, I love that smile already.
She's fine. She's laughing. She's good.
All right, Nathan, Mr. Lee.
Just congratulations to Caitlin. Welcome aboard, and nothing else. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Ralph.
Yes, I have a comment. I would like to get together with Gibson and Alan Bryan to discuss a letter that I had gotten from the county legal people in regards to the Brown Act. And I think it retains to what the discussion has been, because I've been through something very similar to that with the Sunshine Canyon and the CAC, where I was taking pictures and doing all sorts of stuff and got all sorts of reports from Sunshine Canyon. It's the legal issue with the Brown Act, and I think that we're heading into that right now with what's happening at the other council.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Raheem is no longer here. He's absent. Thomas, Mr. Hartfield. Let's move on. Oh, Sid.
Nothing. Good meeting. Well done, Oscar, and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, everyone. Graham.
Good meeting. Just wanted to say about the parks, and I've seen increased, I live right by B Canyon and Mulvaney, and increased activity from the coyotes and signs up from people's pets. So, you know, just kind of spread the word and make sure that people are, you know, looking out for their pets when they let them out, dogs, cats, small animals. I also had two younger girls come to our house super late, running away from them, being in the park late. So be careful of like people in the park late as well. And they act up pretty much every night, like getting a little bit more aggressive. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Alfredo.
Now we'll be here all night.
And mute yourself, Alfredo.
Like as if it's daytime. He took all the time on his thingamajiggy.
Oh, look, Fernando, we need to get out of here. So get
So the
with it.
question, so the thing that I noticed that I didn't hear anything about is, I noticed that it's been raining and the homeless, as far as them living on the outside, we really don't have a homeless issue out here in the north. And because I noticed that the overpass on Rinaldi, closer to Sepulveda, there's no homeless there. It's kind of interesting, but there's an encampment of homeless at the other overpass at DeSoto, Devonshire, and the 405. And I'm wondering if the South Neighborhood Council and the Mission Hills Neighborhood Council, they're doing anything about it. Interestingly enough, they have a big real estate office at that corner, but yet they can't house, you know, we can't fix that housing problem that we have in that little underpass of the freeway there. But you know, just something I'm just commenting on it because I don't see anything being done about it, and it might not be my jurisdiction or my area, but it's still Granada Hills, and I kind of hate to see that. I'm wondering how no one's bringing up anything about the homeless issues. It was not even the police reports, nothing like that. You know, we had
Alfredo,
like
there's also issue too, right there on Chatsworth and Haskell, just underneath,
Yes.
405. And I've called 311 to have them go out there to pick up the trash. They can't do anything apparently because they have to go through some extra procedure. If you call traffic and report that, there's no signage on there limiting parking. I've been noticing that the last few days that I've gone through there. So I've been meaning to call that NC that represents that area to suggest that they put signage out there, because once there is signage, then you can have traffic department go out there and cite them if they're violating whatever is posted. It's my understanding. So
If
I'm
I
a
may
little
add,
concerned about those
Oscar,
things.
if I may add, Alfredo and Oscar, Officer Sellers advised that when it's raining, that even if there were those no camping signs that you're referring to, there's some agreement that they won't try to get people to move in that type of weather. So there is a team that is now assigned to Devonshire, a new team. And all we can do is email Officer Sellers, and they are trying to work on it. It's just kind of slow, but they are working on it. It's but email Officer Sellers, and I can send you his contact info.
Well, I'm just curious because that's been going on there for over a year. I'm sure it hasn't rained all year. Southern California being the least rainable of both cities.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But we'll move on since it's late. So, but yes.
Okay.
we'll
Okay,
Yes.
keep on.
yes, Brian.
All right.
Thank you. Let's move on. Brian?
Oh, I've got a lot to say, but I'll save it for another day.
Liar.
No, that's truth, believe me.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Karen?
Oh, I will say one thing.
Okay.
Sorry, I would like to update you. In talking with the mayor, I'm going to personally give her a letter or two with regards to homeless and the budget advocates, but I'll let you know if she responds.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Karen?
Okay, well, welcome, Caitlin and Michael. Congratulations for getting all your training done so quickly. And if you all happen to see the news footage of the Los Angeles to Boston flight, where the passenger led the takedown, it was actually our cousin. He was visiting, and he's the very tall, big guy who led that takedown. So thank God people's lives were spared, and who knew?
Thank you. Thank you.
Great
No one got
meeting.
hurt?
No, well, the guy, the
Assailant?
not terrorist, but whatever, disruptive passenger.
All right. Well, and lastly, for me then, again, I want to just reiterate, this was a great meeting. I know there's that one item that we addressed, and I want to just say, I think it was handled, what's the word, with respect, with, consideration. And so this is what makes our NC a good team. And again, I firmly believe that we are here to work with all the other NCs as best as we can, but not to push too hard, right? We can give them the support or at least suggestions, but let's also keep in mind that sometimes they may not want it, and we just have to respect that space. But it was a great meeting. I thank you all. So have a great evening, or what's left of it.
Yeah,
So,
and thank you, Mirka, for hanging in there with us.
yes,
the
Mirka,
whole-
thank you.
And
Thank you
Aaron
so
too.
much. Thank you.
And
Thank
Mr.
you,
and
thank
Mrs. Hales.
I have to get up too.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone.
you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
You.